In a world where local TV is dying, network executives are evil, and the only thing standing between obscurity and primetime glory is a mop-wielding janitor and a guy who hallucinates movie parodies for fun. You get the 1989 cult comedy UHF. This gloriously unhinged oddball of a film stars Weird Al Yankovic as a daydreaming underachiever who accidentally turns a failing UHF station into the hottest thing on TV with homemade plutonium, a giant wheel of fish, and celebratory drinks from the fire hose. It's part sketch comedy, part underdog story, and 100% Weird Al nonsense. It was everything a weird kid, like me, with a VCR and a love of spatulas could ever want in a movie. But how does it hold up now that we've swapped our Saturday morning cartoons for back pain and property taxes? We'll find out in this episode of the Regular Guy Movie Show.
Lights go down, let's hit play. Regular guys got something to say. The Regular Guy Movie Show, talking flicks. Here we go!
Welcome back to the Regular Guy Movie Show, the podcast where three dudes take a look back at the films that shaped their childhoods and wonder if their moms were actually right, that watching too much TV would truly rot your brains out. Well, today we're tuning into a cinematic fever dream beamed straight from the mind of Weird Al Yankovic, UHF. It's a movie where plot takes a backseat to parody, logic is on permanent vacation, and nothing says, I love you, quite like the gift of a spatula. Joining me as always on this cinematic exploration are two of my favoriteest peoples in the whole wide world, my co-hosts, Justin and Brian. Gentlemen, are you ready to teach some poodles to fly?
Man, let's get weird. Let's get weird.
Yep. Let me finish this Twinkie Wiener sandwich and I'll be right with you.
All righty then. Well, before we delve into our deep dive into absurdity, let's start things off as we always do. Gentlemen, what was your first experience with UHF? Brian?
I was 14 years old. I caught it off of cable TV. And at 14, I was at the pinnacle of my fart joke, era. So I thought this movie was going to be awesome because of what my friends talked about it. And so, yeah, I was 14 when I watched it on cable.
All right.
Justin?
Yeah, for me, I mean, no surprise. I watched it for the first time yesterday.
All right.
Questions?
Yeah. This was your pick.
This was my pick.
You picked a movie you haven't seen before.
Yeah. How did you come up with UHF?
That's correct. So this is another listener suggestion. UHF was suggested by Joe from Minnesota.
Minnesota Joe.
Minnesota Joe.
Thank you for your submission, Minnesota Joe.
Fabulous suggestion it was.
I gotta say, if nothing else, I was entertained.
Preface here, Joe. I'm sorry if we completely destroy the movie that you just so passionately love.
Well, I am probably in the same boat as Joe.
Okay.
Because, man, I imagine this is my version of Rad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was pretty passionate about that one.
You were. And, man, I will fight to the 10th degree about UHF.
Look out, folks.
All right.
No.
Buckle up. Here we go.
I mean, when I was a kid, I was the target demographic for this movie. I was a Weird Al fan through and through.
All right.
In fact, I remember, I think I went as a family to go see The Naked Gun in the movie theater, and the preview for this came on. And the moment I saw this and saw there was going to be a Weird Al movie, I was pumped.
Okay.
And excited. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting for my chance to go see in the theater. And it never came to my local theater.
It was a limited release. Yeah, it didn't hit all the theaters.
But whenever it hit cable, we did record it onto the VHS.
There you go.
And much like you, Justin, I watched that movie like it was my job.
You wore that tape out.
I wore that tape out to the point the tape did get eaten by the VCR eventually. And then had to buy it. And so I actually bought the legitimate copy of UHF.
I mean, maybe the VCR was trying to tell you something.
Maybe.
Okay, so here's a fun little nugget. The sequel to UHF. Did you buy this on VHS or did you buy it on DVD?
What sequel?
Yeah, I'll get to it.
Ooh, there we go. Mystery.
Okay, so when UHF came out,
Mm-hmm.
there was always a kind of a background joke with Weird Al Yankovic about having a sequel. Now, when the movie went from VHS to DVD, Weird Al Yankovic, just to pull everybody's legs, put a preview of UHF 2 on the DVD.
That's a Weird Al thing to do.
Yeah,
It
making everybody think, oh my God, there's going to be a second one. But there never was going to be a second one. He just did that to spoof the audience.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Not cool, Al. No, actually, I've never seen the DVD version of it.
Yeah.
And man, I had the VHS copy though, and I brought that with me to college, and I watched it. I don't know how many times when I was in college, and then after I graduated, I continued to watch it, and then I actually probably still have the VHS tape. I just have nothing I can play it on.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever, renting this through Amazon, I really teetered whether I should rent it or buy it.
You know what? I watched it for free.
Oh yeah, how'd you watch it for free?
What the platform was it? Pluto?
Pluto.
Okay.
They did. I saw they had
it's
that
free
for free
on Pluto.
Yeah.
All right. There's a few ads you got to suffer through,
Yeah.
but it allows you time to catch your breath. But yeah, it is available for free on Pluto.
I mean, I think those ads are probably, it's great for catching your breath in this movie.
Well, it's weird. When the ads came on, I had to concentrate to make sure it was
a
a
real
real ad and not a Weird Al spoof.
They weren't just selling you spatulas.
Right.
We sell spatulas, and that's all.
This Pluto's got really weird commercials, guys.
Well, I don't know if you remember, Brian. Brian and I actually saw Weird Al in concert.
We did.
A number of years ago.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple little quick snippets from UHF, the movie, that were in the show.
I got to tell you, Seth, you invited me to go along. And I went just for the experience. I had zero expectation. Didn't really. I went to hang out with you and do something fun.
Yeah.
I was absolutely blown away. It was such a good concert. I had so much fun. It totally blew my expectations out of the water, which were really low. But man, I had such a good time. I tell people all the time, I'm like, hey, yeah, I saw him in concert, and it was amazing.
That is not where I thought that story was going to go.
So we were in the St. Louis area for people who don't know. And that weekend that Weird Al was in town, Albert Pujols was also making his return to St. Louis. And a couple of my coworkers at the time were talking about how excited they were to see Al. I'm like, oh, you're going to the Weird Al concert too? Like, it never occurred to me that there'd be another bigger Al coming to St. Louis.
No, the Poodles Al.
Yeah.
So I just have to ask, like, why wasn't I invited?
You were in Denver.
Yeah. You weren't here.
Well, never mind then.
Yeah. You weren't next door.
No.
I could have driven out maybe.
But it was amazing. It was, it was symphonic Weird Al.
It was
Weird Al performing with a symphony.
It was a full
Wow.
orchestra.
I mean, I would have went to see that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And my favorite part of that though is like there was one point where it was like this big buildup. It's like, there's a song that's been on my discography for years, and I've never really felt it was right to play it until I had all these violinists and all these percussionists. And then he rocks out Harvey the Wonder Hamster, which is like this tiny, 12-second song that's just like a throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I was like, oh, I've never seen this live before, because I have seen Weird Al a few times live before that. And it was like, man, I was here with my friend, and I felt this.
That was a good night. That was a good time.
Like, I've never been like a mega fan of Weird Al. I appreciate what he does, and there's songs that I'm like, oh, that's funny, but I've never like followed his career or anything, like bought a CD or anything like that. But man, if he came to town while I was in town,
Oh yeah,
I would see him.
You should.
Mean, it's Weird Al. Like, what? How often do you get the chance to see Weird Al?
He's one of those guys. If you take yourself seriously, you won't enjoy it.
Oh, of course
because
not.
You have to really be willing to just absorb the absurdity.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't have to have a huge appreciation for his skill or his artistry.
Right.
You just have to go in with an open sense of mind and a big sense of humor, and you'll have a good time.
Absolutely. I could see it. Yeah.
And that's what I felt about this movie. But
And that was my problem. Not to, I don't know. I'm kind of an intellectual. I don't want to call myself a highbrow, but I had problems seeing things just for the humor and for what they were, and not trying to make everything make sense.
sure.
Yeah. And that was kind of my issue too. It was, and why I wanted to watch it twice, I didn't. But I thought about it, but I was like, man, like, okay. And I didn't watch it twice because I took myself out of the, like, I'm watching this critically.
Yeah.
Like, I understood what this thing was about and what it was made for and what it's all about. And so I was like, you know what, I can take myself out of the critical movie watching role and just kind of let Weird Al happen.
Well, if I would have had to put money on this a week ago, I would have bet Brian hated this movie and Justin was at least okay with it. Because I know the movies that Brian seems to dislike that Justin and I really like are the absurd, really stupid ones. Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, Napoleon Dynamite.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Oh, Dumb and Dumber, yeah.
Awful movie.
Super Troopers.
I mean, we know they're terrible,
Right.
but that's what
we
makes them
appreciate
fun.
them for what they're supposed to be.
And there's a hole in my brain when it comes to doing that, apparently.
All right. So why don't we shift gears here a little bit and let's talk a little bit about what this movie is about.
I can't wait to hear this.
Okay.
Tell me what it's about.
Tell me what
I will
it's
tell you
about,
what
Brian.
I did my best. It's about so much. Okay, UHF came out in 1989. UHF follows George Newman, an imaginative but chronically unemployed dreamer who unexpectedly inherits a failing UHF television station, Channel 62, from his eccentric uncle. George, alongside his friend Bob, initially struggle to keep the station afloat. That is, until he gives janitor Stanley Spadowski his own kids show, Stanley Spadowski's Clubhouse, which becomes a surprise ratings smash. Riding the wave of absurdity, low-budget programming like Wheel of Fish, Gandhi 2, and my favorite, Conan the Librarian, Channel 62 suddenly becomes the hottest station in town. But success brings enemies. R.J. Fletcher, the ruthless owner of the local network affiliate, Channel 8, sees Channel 62 as a threat and plots to shut it down. When George learns the station is about to be foreclosed, he and the community rally to raise the money needed to save it, culminating in a live telethon full of oddball hijinks, heartfelt moments, and a big helping of Weird Al humor.
As much as I love this movie, I think you spent more time describing the plot than the actual plot took to play out in the movie.
I was thinking the same thing. Like
Do you guys realize how hard this was to put together?
right? Like you described it.
You described it
perfectly.
beautifully.
Thank you.
But the movie takes such a roundabout way to get to all those points.
You know,
Like great research.
a few episodes back in the movie Rad, I actually took out the stopwatch to time how much of the movie was dedicated to montages. And I wish I would have done the same with UHF to time how much was actually devoted to plot, because so much of it is cutaways, dream sequences, commercials,
Yeah.
you know, promos, and the actual portion of the movie that's the plot is probably might be half.
13 seconds.
Yeah, I'd say probably about a third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not much, but yeah.
But now you know it.
Yeah, we'll get
Now
into
you know
it.
it all.
And now you know the entire movie.
So how did this do in the box office?
Okay, so this movie was released July 21st of 1989, and it had a budget of $5 million.
Somebody paid $5 million.
Uh-huh. Yes,
Make this
somebody
movie.
funded $5 million
Woo.
for this movie,
Well-
and the total domestic gross only ended up being about 6.1.
Well, hey.
So now theaters take half. So it means only made about 3 million in the theaters. Now,
Okay, all right. So it flopped a bit.
There are some contributing factors.
There are of why this movie was, as it's described here, a flop.
Okay.
The summer of '89 was a particularly loaded summer for movies.
All right.
You ever heard of Batman?
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh, man.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, geez.
Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, shit.
Lethal Weapon 2.
Oh, gosh.
All came out that summer.
And When Harry Met Sally. For all the rom-commers out there.
Man, they should have like held off till like December.
The other issue they had, Orion Pictures, which was riding a little bit on the high end after the success of another movie we talked about not that long ago, RoboCop, was on the verge of bankruptcy.
It was, and they couldn't spend the money to market this movie.
So they took a chance on it because they knew it would be at the very least a cult classic just because of Weird Al's popularity. But they did not have the wherewithal to fund any marketing. And as such, as we talked about already, it didn't really get into wide release. And it just died on the vine in the theaters.
It did. And with so many big movies, when you went to the smaller towns that had maybe a 2-screen movie theater, this one wasn't going to make it because you had all these other blockbusters in the lineup.
At the time I was living, the closest town I had with a movie theater was Effingham, Illinois. And there was, it was like a 2-screen movie theater at the mall.
Oh, the effing movie theater?
The effing movie theater at the effing mall. Yep.
Effing ham.
It never made it.
Why do they hate ham so much?
But thanks to home video and cable TV, this movie kind of grew a cult following.
Absolutely.
And not just the Weird Al Yankovic fans as his fan base was growing and they got introduced to this, but there's a pretty large group of people like said Minnesota Joe who were a part of this, the culture UHF.
And I'd be interested to know whether there's now a generational boom as well, because the people who were kids when this movie came out are now parents.
Yeah.
Are they introducing it? I tried really hard to introduce this to my daughter. No interest whatsoever.
Isn't that cruel and unusual punishment?
I'm okay with that.
DCFS is on its way.
Right.
You made your child watch what?
How dare you?
But anyway, so this movie was written by Weird Al Yankovic, along with his partner, Jay Levy, who was actually his longtime manager and creative partner, who also directed the movie. Now, Jay Levy, this is his only movie that he has directed. His other directing work has been entirely Weird Al Yankovic music videos.
What? He couldn't find other directing work?
I don't think there's an issue that he couldn't find it. He just didn't have any interest.
But he had other work.
This guy,
Weird Al, right?
This guy's fully within the Weird Al universe. Like, why branch out and do other things?
He's so successful.
And Justin, would you have hired this guy for another movie?
Look. All right, let me ask you though, because this came up when we were talking about Mr. Mom and the dream sequence, about how that scene was very much in line with the kinds of weird stuff we'd like to make movies with in the past.
Right. Yeah.
I think there were a lot of things in UHF that were in line with our movie making fundum.
So let me get into that just a little bit, because the reason why it worked in Mr. Mom is because it was once. It was one time that it was oddball, like it was a fantasy, like there's this whole story going on and here's this one little like patch that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It kind of makes sense to the story, but it's like, we're going to go over the top here. This thing was over the top and bizarre and odd from beginning to end. And there was a point in time where I was like, what the hell am I watching? Like, what is this movie even about? Like, is it a sketch show or are we following this plot? You know what I mean? So I get it. Like, he did. Like, it was great. Like, it would be amazing for him to have this sketch comedy show to where he could, almost like what he was trying to do at the radio station. I'm sorry, TV station, to where you could have all these weird different shows that don't have to make sense together. But when you put it into a movie and you're just like, here's a bunch of weird shit, I was a little lost. I was just a little lost.
Yeah,
I get it. Like, but it was funny. Like, there was funny parts.
I take this movie as one of those that if you watched it 5 times, on the 5th time, you would see something new. You would notice something that you missed. Because you're right. There's so much going on all the time.
Well, I can't even count the number of times I've watched this movie, and I watched it twice today.
Yeah.
And this is probably the first time, although I will admit there was a good 10-year gap in between my viewings today and the previous ones. But prior to that, man, it like 100 maybe. I actually finally, there was 2 things I caught today that I had not caught ever before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess just maybe instead of 2 or 3, maybe it's like 153.
Okay. So as we go along, I want you to point those 2 things out when we get there.
Absolutely will.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So now we kind of covered the basics of the movie. Let's get into who made this movie what it was on the screen. Justin, tell me about the characters that made UHF what it is.
All right. First and foremost, we have George Newman, played by the Weird Al Yankovic.
You see, Bob, you gotta look at the big picture. You gotta grab life by the lips and yank as hard as you can.
George is a big-hearted dreamer and daydreamer with an overactive imagination. He stumbles into running a failing UHF TV station and accidentally turns it into a smash hit with bizarre programming.
That seems accurate.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sums it up pretty good.
He had great hair.
I would kill for his hair.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Bit of a trademark for him, I think.
Yeah.
I had a bit of sadness though watching this today because I kind of missed the mustache.
that was a good mustache.
Yeah, it was. I mean, for what it was in many. If you just looked at it by itself, it's kind of a molester stash.
but it fits him really well.
Yeah, it did.
Like only Weird Al could wear that mustache and be like, I get it.
It was iconic.
It's a good one.
The combination, the glasses, the mustache, the hair. I mean, he didn't even put a caption on the name. You just knew. You knew who that was.
He unabashedly rocked that style.
He did. And it's funny because those aviator glasses are back again. And not as like, you remember, like it was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, everybody was wearing aviator sunglasses.
Uh-huh.
But now everybody's wearing aviator,
the big glasses,
like prescription glasses. Mm-hmm. And everybody's linked back to Weird Al.
Have either of you watched Weird, the Al Yankovic story?
I've not.
I haven't either. No,
it's fun.
Is it?
I recommend it.
Okay.
I mean, it's basically like Weird Al did a parody of autobiographical movies.
Okay.
In his own life. And it goes like the total extreme. It's like he tells his own life story, but totally flips it and makes it way more dramatic, way more violent, way more over the top, way more drug fueled than it actually was. And Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter, playing Al Yankovic, freaking brilliant.
That sounds amazing.
It's on
you
Roku.
You could have asked me 100 different actors who would have played him, and I never would have come up with Daniel Radcliffe.
And I believe Al Yankovic picked him specifically. He recruited him. He's like, I want you to play me.
No way.
Yeah.
So his genius,
how would you say no to that?
His genius keeps growing. Like he knows that's not what he looks like. I mean, Daniel Radcliffe's a good looking guy.
Is he?
We put him in the wig and he gave him the mustache. I mean, he
did he look like him?
Yeah, but a much more muscular, buff, version. Because again, this is dramatized.
But doesn't Daniel Radcliffe have that weird scar on his forehead?
That was for a movie.
He healed up.
Oh,
he got plastic surgery.
He got made some money.
Right.
He's a big Hollywood guy now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's covered up now.
You're a wizard, Harry.
He's Harry Potter to Weird Al.
Yeah.
He'll always be Harry Potter to me.
But even though he had a movie made about his life, this was Weird Al's only starring role in a movie.
Mm-hmm. It was.
He made a lot of appearances, often as himself in other movies. He makes appearances in The Naked Gun, Spy Hard, The Drew Carey Show, Reno 911. And even in the Al Yankovic story, he plays the record producer. So,
God, he's such a. Is he weird or is he a genius?
I think he's a full blown genius.
I could see it. Like he's
not everybody's taste, and he doesn't care to be everybody's taste. but he has tapped into something, and he's still, man, he still making it happen.
And that's what I think makes Weird Al really cool, because he's unapologetically himself.
Oh yeah, and I respect that a ton.
Like, do you remember, like, he like parodies like all the different songs and stuff. And there was the Gangster's Paradise by Coolio.
Yeah.
And he was
Amish
like,
Paradise?
Yeah. He did the Amish Paradise, and he asked for permission, and Coolio was like, no, that's a really important song to me. But he did it anyway. And then all of a sudden,
well, there was a
Coolio had
miscommunication, apparently. What I love is he did a cover of Don McLean's American Pie for the Star Wars themed, the saga begins.
Mm-hmm.
And Don McLean listened to that song with his family so much that he would be performing American Pie and would accidentally slip into the wrong lyrics.
No, that's when you made an impact.
Yeah. And he'd be singing American Pie, but then he'd be like, my, this here Anakin. Oh, shit.
I've read that most of the artists that he parodied absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
They got such a big kick out of it.
Well, there's a bump.
One of his biggest fans was Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, if you have, like, if you're an artist and you make a song that is big enough to be parodied, your song is only going to get bigger.
Right.
So embrace the weird, enjoy the Weird Al, and just,
it is
like, everybody, like, it's going to be generational also.
right.
Like, people that had never listened to Michael Jackson bad, but there's a funny song called I'm Fat instead of I'm Bad, like, that's going to carry on further probably than Michael Jackson's I'm Bad.
Well, it's the sincerest form of flattery.
It sure is.
So I don't think we have to say anything more about him. He's done some stuff.
He's a good guy.
Who else we got?
Next on my list is Stanley Spadowski, played by Michael Richards.
I was wondering, like if you were traveling through outer space, I mean, like you're going real fast, like the speed of light, and all of a sudden you started screaming, ah! You think that your brain would blow up?
It's a fair question.
It is fair. So Stanley's the sweet, slightly unhinged janitor turned kid show host. Stanley becomes the station's breakout star with his manic energy and childlike enthusiasm.
And what else do we know Michael Richards from?
Probably a commercial that I've seen here or there.
Oddly enough, what he's known for
Is
also,
it Frasier?
Also happened in 1989. Seinfeld.
Yeah, Kramer.
That's
Cosmo.
It's Kramer.
And you could see that character in this character.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Okay, but let me ask you something, because I did not know this until I was researching for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who was originally Weird Al's pick for Stanley Spadowski?
No.
Jerry Seinfeld.
No kidding.
That's weird.
And never would have worked.
No.
What an odd connection, too, though, to get into the next, to Seinfeld's sitcom.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been an awful pick.
Because Michael Richards is such a brilliant physical comic.
Right.
And even in Seinfeld, he showed it, but it was very subdued way. Like even when Kramer would just come sliding into the Jerry's apartment.
Right. Or banging to the door.
Yeah, there was this physicality.
Mm-hmm.
And every other role I've seen him in, whether it be Airheads or Problem Child,
mm-hmm.
he brings that to it. And he's just over the top. He's a little insane, but he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was perfect for this role, for this movie.
Now he's gotten in some trouble.
He has recently. Yeah.
But just remembering what he was and who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at this point, man, he was Stanley Spadowski.
So let me ask, was he wearing a denture prosthetic in this movie? Or were those really his own chompers?
It looked prosthetic to me, but I had no idea.
I actually had never given a thought, but it does look different.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so. But it kind of added to the dim-wittedness look,
mm-hmm.
I thought.
Yeah, I wonder if that was.
Yeah, and that with the physical comedy,
mm-hmm.
he hit the nail on the head with this character. I thought he did a great job.
He sure did. Sure did.
All right, who else?
Next up, I have R.J. Fletcher, played by Kevin McCarthy.
I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. I will not tolerate this kind of behavior at Channel 8. This is a business, not a home for irresponsible puss brains.
Plus brains. That's a word that's not used enough.
No.
I loved the insults and things that RJ Fletcher threw out.
Mm-hmm.
So RJ is the villain of this story. He's a slick corporate TV executive who runs Channel 8 and wants to shut down George's little station.
I thought for his role, he also did a great job. One of my favorite things is he leaned so hard into the villainy camp.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
He was a hardcore, baddie.
Mm-hmm.
I think he actually up next to Dick Jones was probably the biggest villain we've seen so far in the movies we've watched.
I mean, RJ Fletcher, that was a character. And like, do you think it was by design to be that over the top? Like, that was written in, right?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Like
totally.
that was intentional.
One question for you. What in this movie was not written to be over the top?
I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So I shouldn't even second guess it. Like, yeah, he was big.
Yeah, he was.
And he was intentional. And he was big and intentional.
What I appreciated about him, though, is because he's a veteran actor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his actually probably best known for Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was in 1956. So when this movie came out, that was 33 years later.
Oh, he's been around.
He's been around.
Mm-hmm.
He is a veteran of the trade, and he was still willing to go over the top and be stupid.
Yeah. And I respect that.
Yeah.
Up next on my list is Terry Campbell, played by Victoria Jackson.
George, when are you going to start taking things a little more seriously? I mean, you've been wandering aimlessly from job to job ever since I've known you.
Yeah, well, Terry, she is George's sweet and supportive, but often frustrated girlfriend. She tries to keep him grounded despite his frequent detours into Fantasyland.
I think she was a perfect balance point, because George, as we played by Weird Al, is so over the top and borderline screaming half the things he say. Whereas Terry, I feel like at her highest point, she's maybe hitting a 3.
Absolutely, yeah. And I really liked her as his counterpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were so different,
Yin and yang, and they balanced each other out.
I really did like how they casted her as his girlfriend.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
I remember her from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She was that character then too.
She was. She played a lot of that.
It was always that level 3 mellow kind of high pitched voice, but also still somehow
meek, quiet,
hold on,
dim-witted.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, but never mind. I forgot what I was going to say. Monotone, somehow high pitched, but still monotone. Like, how do you find that? Like,
well, I mean, in a way, she had the most cartoonish voice of anyone in the movie, but was the least cartoonish character.
Right, exactly. Yeah, she was awful baseline.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Next, I have Bob Speck, played by David Bowe.
Given our present financial situation, compounded by ongoing fixed expenses and outstanding invoices, I figure the station will be flat broke by the end of the week.
So Bob is George's best friend and right-hand man at the station. He's the straight man to all the weirdness, helping to keep things from completely flying off the rails.
Did either of you get stepbrother vibes in the relationship between George and Bob?
I could see where you're going with that, but no.
No, I kind of felt like they're tied together. Really felt like Brennan and Dale going on interviews together to me.
Well, the only part of that I could disagree with is Brennan and Dale were both completely off the wall.
Well, that's true.
And this guy was like the straight, like he's trying to anchor and be like,
their farts taste like ketchup.
It's fancy sauce.
I thought Bob was the straight guy.
Yeah.
and I, not in sexuality terms.
No, I
straight,
get it.
but
I get it. Comedy sense.
Keeping him on the narrows.
Yeah.
But to be honest, there really wasn't a whole lot to this character.
No,
there wasn't a whole lot of development. I don't know. I don't want to call him a throwaway character, but he really didn't add much to the movie.
Well, if you look at it in you're right, in the sense of being a straight man, he is. He's got to provide the straight and narrow so everyone else could be a comic foil. But the problem is he is surrounded by so many comic foils that he just gets absorbed and lost.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
And he does what he needs to do. But, other than his moment of Bobo the Clown, he really doesn't shine that much.
Yeah, there was one scene in particular I thought was pretty funny but again, it was Weird Al that was throwing the grapes to him while he was talking and he was catching them. And he was on cue. Like he was throwing and like caught him in his mouth and kept talking.
Mm-hmm.
And he was continuously telling the story, but catching 4 grapes along the way. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty impressive. But that wasn't really part of his character either.
The only thing I'll say, and this is something I did notice today watching it, because watching it basically back to back and haven't watched it in a long time, Bob almost works as a barometer for the level of success they're having, because at the beginning of the movie, he is so sad, so depressed, so beat down. Is. I mean, they get chucked across a parking lot and fired by Big Edna, and you just think he's on the verge of suicide. But by the end, man, he's got this light. He's got, he's dressing better, wearing Cubs hat. He seems like he's, just enjoying himself. And for a character who really is just kind of going along for the ride, he is enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it's not a fun ride, but now towards the end, he's all in. And I think he's almost like a surrogate for the people watching the movie.
I get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He does. He measures the success as they go, he does, I think he's just responding to the themes and the tone of the movie as it goes through.
Yeah.
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 So he was purposeless.
he was pretty darn close to that.
To purposeless.
Yes.
He was an anchor.
Yeah.
And he kind of brought things back down.
That was a pun. He was an anchor.
Well, I didn't mean it as a
TV
pun,
show.
Sure,
yeah, look at you, Witty Witterson.
Okay. Ultimately, he did what he has done in other roles. And he has been in a few other things. He's a character actor, David Bowe. He's been in The Rock, A Few Good Men, and many TV comedies. And basically, he's just an everyman.
Oh, he was the guy that said, "You can't handle the truth."
No,
he wasn't.
He wasn't that guy.
Him.
No, he wasn't that guy.
He was the guy who said, "I want the truth."
He was that guy.
Yeah, I think so.
No, that was Tom Cruise.
That was Tom Cruise.
That was Tom
I
Cruise.
think it was.
Tried
I think
to
he
fool
said,
you.
I think the truth I want. Yeah,
I could
don't
see
know.
how you would like mix up Tom Cruise.
Huge fly.
Did you get him?
Oh my God, you did.
Yeah, I did.
Gross.
Nice.
Eat it.
On air. We're gonna
You get some big flies here.
I'm starting to doubt your devotion to sparkle motion.
Oh. Screw you, Mrs. Farmer. All right. Anyone else we want to talk about?
There were a lot of people who came in and out of this movie.
There were, and a lot of people who you may have seen at other things.
Oh yeah, that you recognized.
Fran Drescher made probably her film debut. I don't know for certain, but I'm guessing one of her earliest film roles was in this movie.
The nanny.
Yeah, I mean her trademark voice is on full display here.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so are those gams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You had Gede Watanabe making an appearance as Cooney.
I'm sorry. Yeah, say that again.
Gede Watanabe.
Bless you.
Who you may know better as Long Duck Dong from 16 Candles.
Yes.
Bless you.
Oh, sexy girlfriend.
And he looks exactly the same.
He does.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was the scientist?
Philo.
Now, number one, before we get into who Philo was and why who he was as a character and who played him, why was he doing science experiments in
Because he was an alien.
Because?
a TV studio?
Just because.
He was an alien.
We don't know that yet.
Oh, spoiler alert.
You gave the way that ending. So what was his name anyway?
Well, his name was Anthony Geary,
Okay.
the eccentric, nerdy engineer with a hidden surveillance setup. He was actually best known for his role as Luke on General Hospital.
Did you know? Oh my God, Luke from General Hospital. Are you
Yes.
kidding me?
No.
That's where my middle name came from.
Are you kidding me? Your middle name
is Luke?
Your middle name is Philo?
My middle name is Lucas, and I was named after a character on General Hospital.
That's who it is.
That's hilarious.
That's absolutely who it is.
So I can,
no way.
and the topic of names, Philo was named after Philo Farnsworth, one of the inventors of television.
Yeah, the inventor of the television.
Okay. My middle name's Cooler, Seth, and you just stole my thunder.
That's your middle name. This is his first name. Fuck you.
It's a character.
Like Philo more than you.
Well, okay, I agree. He's pretty interesting fella.
You have never taught me how to make plutonium from home-found ingredients.
I've also never morphed my face the same way that he did.
No.
I get it.
So in doing some of my research, there was somebody who came up as fairly, I don't know, famous that I didn't recognize. And it was the shop teacher.
Oh, yeah, Emo Phillips.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a comedian.
Yeah, I didn't know him. I didn't recognize him.
Oh yeah, I recognized his voice, but I didn't know his name.
Yeah. Someone else I'll throw out, the guy to play Noodles McIntosh.
Noodles.
Billy Barty,
Mm-hmm.
who was the High Aldwin in Willow.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right.
Was he also a munchkin in Wizard of Oz?
Could very well be. I don't want to racially stereotype.
Don't want to assume. For those who don't know, he was a little person.
He's
Notice I didn't say the M word.
a little fella.
He's vertically challenged.
I think that was bad too.
Yeah.
He was a little person. All right.
He was a fun little
Okay,
character though.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a fun character. Sorry.
All right. Any other characters we need?
little guy.
Any other characters we should talk about?
There was a little cameo by Dr. Demento, the famous DJ.
Mm-hmm.
He was in one of the crowd scenes of the children's show. I think he was a guy holding a balloon. And the last one, and this is a little bit somber. This one's kind of sad. Raul Hernandez.
Yeah.
Raul's Wild Kingdom. It was played by Trinidad Silva. And unfortunately, during shooting of this film, he lost his life in an automobile accident.
Yep.
He was supposed to have a bigger role in this movie, but they cut a lot of it out and kind of minimized it to what it was because out of respect. But, thoughts go out to he and his family.
What kind of auto accident?
I don't know.
Was he driving?
I don't know. I didn't. I mean, was he flying Poodles?
You know what I'm getting at.
Tell me.
He couldn't see one way or the other.
Oh, camera 1 or camera 2.
Now, don't say it's too soon because it was 1989. Give me a break. Come on.
No, yeah, and I don't know. That was the character. Raul Hernandez had trouble focusing both eyes in one spot.
He sure did.
Yeah.
Are we looking at camera 1 or 2?
Uh-huh.
Where are we at?
All right. So what do you guys say we dive into the nitty gritty of this movie?
Let's do it.
Things start off in the true Weird Al fashion.
They do.
With a parody
Of?
Indiana Jones.
Yes.
We see, Weird Al in full Indiana Jones regalia. And there's a lot of fun moments in here.
There's a ton of fun.
We see him take a dude's arm off with a whip.
I mean, that's when you know it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, this is like within the first minute.
Right.
Severs a guy's arm with a whip.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know a whip could do that.
Mm-mm.
I didn't either.
Now I do.
That's impressive.
Logically, it couldn't. But I digress.
All right. They're on some kind of adventure here. And there's just some really just fun tongue-in-cheek moments. There's one point, his guy just telling him, like, no, we can't go any further. Danger. And he points up, there's this, statue with the,
making a funny face.
Out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the guy runs away only to get hit by a train.
Yeah.
Right outside the cave door.
Outside the cave door. And as he goes on, you see keep out signs, wrong way, dangerous area. And he comes up, and very, very similar to was this Temple of Doom or Raiders of the Last?
It was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mm-hmm. A very similar scene where he comes up and he's like measuring out the sand to replace. And the statue here is the treasure he's trying to steal is a Oscar statue. And this is one of the things I've noticed.
Okay.
This is one of the things I noticed I'd never caught before. It looks like an Oscar statue, which, makes fun. He's making fun of the fact, chasing, no chance of ever winning an Oscar.
We're not winning an Oscar for this.
But it's not an Oscar statue because there's one key difference. The Oscar statue is holding a sword, but this statue is got his hands covering his private parts. Fun little thing.
And this is where I thought, like, the camp in this movie is for real.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
through the roof.
I knew nothing about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's Weird Al. It's going to be weird. But, like, this was when I was like, okay, we're in for a ride. Like, there's so much weird stuff going on. The camp, the breakdown of the fourth wall, like, everything that was going on. I was like, okay, this is going to be campy, and I'm going to just accept it and go along for this ride.
Yeah.
So just like in Indiana Jones, the big ball rolls down through the cave and chases him out of the cave, and then some.
Yeah, it chases him out the cave. It chases him past the Sphinx. It chases him through a winter scene. It chases him and chases him and chases him. He turns a corner like in the city scene. The ball turns with him, and he gives up and finally passes out basically from exhaustion, and he gets flattened.
He does. Smoking flattened.
Which transitions quite brilliantly to, I guess we'll call it the real world or the plot line of the movie, where it transitions into a burger patty and George working at Big Edna's Burger Barn. And and he's Bob calls him out for daydreaming at work again.
George. Hello, Earth to George.
Are you daydreaming again?
No, I was just admiring how clean and shiny this grill is.
and we learned very quickly that this is the norm for George. He lives a little bit in his daydreams, and he's a big dreamer, got big ideas. And this is man, that's again made me think of Elf and the scene down in the mailroom. And, where the guys talk about, I got such great ideas. This is George.
Right.
He's thinking about, he's always got something on his mind. And in his mind, it's not his fault or it's not his problem that, other people just haven't come to realize just how great his ideas really are.
Someday they'll be sorry. They'll be eating breakfast or something, and all of a sudden they'll say, hey, we screwed up. We never should have fired George Newman because he's got imagination.
And I love in that moment as he's like, he's got a bottle of mustard in hand and just flailing it around and just creams several customers with mustard right in the face and chest. Yeah. I mean, this sets the tone for what's coming.
Oh yeah, this whole thing is just going to be a goofy ride.
It's the definition of slapstick.
Yeah. But you get called out by manager or the owner of the company, Big Edna, who he calls a tub of lard. Probably not the best choice of words because Big Edna is
big,
for lack of a better word. She's a large woman.
Yeah,
super strong apparently because she hauls them both out by the scruffs of their necks and tosses them clear across the parking lot.
Yep.
So at this point, I was like, okay, why? I could see why George.
But why did Bob get fired?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why?
I
thought that too.
Because they're a package deal.
But why?
Just because. Because movie.
Because movie said so.
As a person whose job employs people, my first thought was, oh, now she's got to replace 2 employees.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the training.
The thing
is
is,
going to take so much money.
they haven't been there that long. You know, they talk at one point, he's rattling off the cavalcade of jobs they've had in the last month.
Yeah.
They've only been there a few days.
My favorite thing is when he pulls up the fries out of the oil and says, oh,
They're completely burnt. Oh, fries are done.
I think the fries are done.
But yeah. So they've got fired apparently from another job. Apparently
Another
this is
one.
multiple, and all because of George's daydreaming. And you know, as they're walking back to their apartment, actually they pull up in front of their apartment in this really cool little car.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
Like I would take that car in a heartbeat.
It's a 1971 Gremlin that's been chopped.
I don't think so. I think it's
Really?
actually, I believe it's a 1950 something Nash Metropolitan.
Interesting.
Either way, it's a little cool little two-seater.
It is. It is a cool little two. It's like a tiny toy car.
Yeah.
It's a car fight.
I wouldn't want those 2 cars to fight because there really is no winner.
No.
They just kind of bump bumpers a little bit.
Yeah. They're like the next step up from like Matchbox.
There's no damage.
You know, but you know, we learn more about these characters as they get pull up in front of their apartment because they live share a wall with Cooney's karate school.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, fists busting through the wall on a regular basis. But George understands that you know, this is all my fault and this that, and you must be really sick of me and you should just.
I want you to take this crowbar and just bash my head right in. Go ahead, really, please. Just bash it right in.
George, you know I couldn't do that. You still owe me $5.
And this right here is I think the essence of this relationship. You have George, who is so over the top, but Bob, who is just so
Reserved.
not.
Yeah.
And just Weird Al, you know, so much of it is his shouting and screaming, which would have been funny to a point by itself. But Bob's deadpan response,
Yeah.
you still owe me $5.
Like that's
Just-
the only reason why I wouldn't bash you in the head.
It made
with
it
this
so much
crowbar.
better. As I mentioned, we learned about, you know, Cooney's karate school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beginner's class today, huh?
Yeah, they're so stupid.
People just getting thrown through the windows.
Yep. So once they get inside, George tries his best to console his friend Bob.
He tries to cook for him.
He does and gives him just the most delightful treat imaginable.
Mm-hmm.
Look what I got here, Bob. A Twinkie wiener sandwich. Your favorite.
For those
All
who
right.
haven't seen it,
Would you guys eat a Twinkie wiener sandwich?
I would.
I would try it.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Really?
so you take a Twinkie,
Yeah.
you cut it like down the middle like a hot dog bun.
Yeah, you make it a bun.
You put a hot dog in there,
Mm-hmm.
and then you cover it with
spray cheese.
Spray cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, I loved this movie when I was a kid. And I love all the things that are in a Twinkie wiener sandwich. I mean, you can't not love a Twinkie.
Now,
I love hot dogs. I love spray cheese. And there was one point during the summer, I don't know, when it was like 11 or 12 years old, where it dawned on me, we had all 3 of those things in the house at the same time.
Ooh,
So I tried
yeah.
making a Twinkie wiener sandwich. I don't have that many regrets in my life. That is one of them.
Really? It didn't go down well, huh?
Horrible.
oh, now
Interesting.
I can relate because there was plenty of foods that I like when I'm really high. But I do remember a time when I was a teenager and I was like, I love a bologna and cheese with mayo and mustard sandwich. That's fantastic. That's a great combo on
Yeah.
a sandwich. And I was like, I also love soft chocolate chip cookies. What if I put that soft chocolate chip cookie inside of that same sandwich?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the biggest mistake in my life. Even though I was high, it was still terrible. So I can relate. Like,
Yeah.
I would try it. I would try a Twinkie wiener sandwich. I sure would.
Yeah.
But, I'll take what you said in consideration.
All right. But anyway, Bob is looking through the want ads to see if there's anything new. He can't find anything with the same level of prestige as the Burger Barn.
I mean, top notch.
Yeah, but George thinks you just gotta grab life by the lips and yank. I can't do it the same level.
I mean,
kudos for trying.
That was a hell of an attempt.
But at least he still has Terry, though he's done his girlfriend, but he realizes he's late. And so he rushes off to Terry to break the news that once again he's been fired from a job. Mm-hmm. She really wants to know when he's going to take things more seriously and really wishes that he could find a way to apply his imagination in a constructive way. While he's, she's saying this though, he's
he filled his plate full of mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
He sits down at the table and he recreates the scene from Close Encounters,
right,
where he's making a spaceship.
This means something
out of mashed potatoes on his plate.
Because the thing is about this movie, even when it's not doing straight up parodying, it's referencing.
Right.
And there's so many moments where it's just references to movies, and there's so many. There are probably still some that I've not caught.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like, this is like, it's a reason why I wanted to watch it again, but also at the same time didn't. So, like, I didn't watch it again, but I was like, man, I guarantee you I missed so much.
From here, though, we cut over to George's aunt and uncle's house, where he's there goes to a party, still dressed in his Burger Barn uniform.
Why is he still dressed? That was my question that I wrote down. Why is George still wearing his Big Edna's uniform?
Yeah, I don't know. But there are so many sight gags built into this scene that are just hilarious, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We get Aunt Edna pulling on his face, saying, "He's such a good face," and like stretches out, and he lets go. You hear like the snap sound, and he's feeding the dog punch out of the punch bowl with a little ladle. And there's these moments like that are just great. But we find out, his Uncle Harvey has won a UHF station at a poker game.
He's got a bit of a gambling problem.
He does have a bit of a gambling problem.
He sure does.
And he had apparently a good day at the track that day as he gets a phone call from Big Louie. And Big Louie, we never see his face. All we see is his hand, which apparently is an interchangeable hand. Mm-hmm. And depending on what he wants to do, it could be a hand holding a cigar. It could be a meat cleaver. It kind of felt like Dr. Claw.
Yeah.
And Inspector Gadget.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you never see his face.
Never see his face.
Yeah.
Just a hand that's a meat cleaver also.
Yeah. It's versatile.
We'll chop you.
Yeah. And but he won a UHF station and a poker game with a pair of sevens, even though he was bluffing.
Yep.
And but he's gonna dump it. His Aunt Edna is really, or not Aunt Edna, but George's aunt is really excited about the idea of owning a TV station. But Uncle Harvey's like, no, I don't have anyone to manage it. But she's like, I've got the perfect guy. And
perfect.
Suggests that George apparently become the manager. And Harvey's like, no, not him.
The guy with the terrible track record of jobs.
Yeah. And so it calls George over, and George drops a dog into the punch bowl. And next thing we know, him and Terry are going to check out the UHF station.
See, the front door's open. It's a friendly place.
They wander themselves in, and we get our first introduction to Philo.
Philo,
the engineer of the station, who apparently also lives there, and does various different experiments.
And also, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but in order to make TV broadcast to the masses, it requires chemistry.
I only learned this because of this movie.
Beakers.
Yeah, lots of beakers.
Bunsen burners.
Mm-hmm. Before they walk into the... Actually, I think I got ahead of myself, because before they walk into the station and meet Philo, they meet another character who's going to be important in this movie. I don't know his name. All I know him as is the Change Bum.
Hey,
Change
mister. Change. You got change?
Oh, sure.
85, 95, $1. Thanks, mister.
Now he asks for change,
But
and he gets the change, but then he
gives
actually
him
gives him $1 back. So he's
Change for
actually
$1.
he only wants change.
Yeah. But he looks like a street bum.
Yeah.
And he is very important.
He is important, and we'll
I
get
didn't
to it
know
later.
this at this time.
But yeah, but it's worth pointing out because he will come back in later. But back to Philo. We don't really know much about him, other than he's kind of a weird guy.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, he hands George these two things. He's like, hold these here and here. And then this happens.
What are you doing? Oh, I just want to see if my interocitor can withstand a sudden charge of 60,000 volts.
What?
It works.
Yeah.
Works. I just love the deadpanness there.
Right.
Yeah, and we see that again later in the film.
We do. So after this, we go into daytime, and Bob and George now come to the station for their first real day at U62.
Yep, and they meet the secretary.
They meet Pamela.
You know, when I first took this job, they told me that this position was only temporary, and that eventually, when the time was right, I would be moved up to news, which is really my forte. You know how long I've been working here? 2 years! It's kind of hard to get promoted when every other week you have a new boss. This job really sucks.
You know what I thought was
This is
kind
my
of neat?
friend Bob. Hi, nice to meet you.
What I thought was neat is like this was like the beginning of the nanny. Like Fran Drescher became a character, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't always this lady. It was the nanny. That's the one that she was like mostly known for. And you could see like the snippets of this becoming the nanny later, and she developed it into what this character was. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Fran.
Yeah, like it was kind of neat to see the beginnings of that character. Like she was working on it in the like before she became the nanny, and I thought that was kind of neat.
I also like in this as they're walking up to the station, you know, Bob says that they don't know anything about running a TV station, which they don't. And George's response is like, you know, it's kind of like working in a fish market. Just you don't have to clean and gut fish all day. I feel like you could say that about any job.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's every job.
He was
That's
spot.
not
He was
in a fish market.
He was spot on.
You know, and they're doing their initial analysis of what's going on at the station, what they've got programming wise. And George's opinion is that they need to have a lot more live shows. And while they're talking about this, a package comes in. Pamela brings it in saying that the mailman delivered a package that was actually meant for RJ Fletcher at Channel 8. And George is like, oh, well, I'll just run over there. Good to meet the competition. And Pamela's like, oh, I don't know. I've heard he's not a very nice guy.
love the accent.
And George goes anyway.
You're the best at accents.
I try.
Mm-hmm. You're like the Weird Al of accents.
So he goes to meet RJ at the Channel 8 station. And prior to him, George walking in, we get our introduction to RJ Fletcher, who is not a nice guy.
You idiot! Can't you do anything I tell you to do? Does this look like a number 2 pencil?
No, I just thought that
You thought? I don't pay you to think?
But Dad...
Shut up!
He's talking to his son.
Right. And again, that's just one of those little subtle extra things that just makes this movie to another level. But Dad, during this discussion, there's an important report that they want to talk about. Supposed to have been left on his desk, but it's not on his desk. And no one knows where it's at. So RJ jumps to the conclusion that it must have been the janitor. So he calls in the janitor, who is Stanley Spadowski, to interrogate Stanley about this missing report. And wants to know, assumes that he threw it away. Stanley says, no, it wasn't me. And but RJ doesn't want to hear it.
You are a worthless human being, Mr.
Spadowski, Stanley Spadowski.
May I call you Stanley?
Okay.
Stanley. You're fired!
But I didn't.
Get out!
But
No, poor Stanley.
Yeah, Stanley not only gets fired, he gets they take away his mop.
His mop that he's had since he was 8 years old.
It was his own mop.
Right.
He loved that mop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if there's anyone who loved a mop as much as anyone has loved a mop, it was Stanley.
It was Stanley.
Yeah. Like, I mean, who gets that as a president at 8 years old anyway?
Apparently, it was a very special mop.
Like, I mean, that's when you know the job you're destined to do.
Yeah.
So he gets thrown out. He gets thrown out of the TV station.
He does.
And they find the report. It was in his chair the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah, Stanley had nothing to do with it.
And I hate how they laughed about it too. Like they just fired this innocent guy.
Yeah.
And just had a good old time laughing about it. Like, they don't care. They just don't care.
No.
And
Bunch
again,
of a-holes.
Again, as a manager of people, I'm thinking, well, they got to hire a new janitor.
The training that's involved.
Right. This is ridiculous.
The interviews and my God.
But they come out of this meeting still laughing about firing, Stanley unnecessarily. And George comes walking in. He's like, "Hey, RJ." And tries to return the package, and RJ's like, "Well, you're stealing my property, and I'm gonna, you're fired." And George is like, "I don't even work here." It's like, "Oh, well, it's trespassing then."
Yep.
And George's like, "Okay," and RJ is like, "I'm gonna give you the count of 10 to get out of here," and starts counting down, and George is like, "Okay, look at the time," and makes his exit.
Mm-hmm.
And as he's making his exit, though, he encounters Stanley, where he's having his mop ripped out of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And just completely defeated. And he goes up to console Stanley.
Are you all right?
It's just not fair.
Come on, forget about it. It's only a mop.
Only a mop. Only a mop. You don't understand. That mop was given to me for my birthday when I was 8 years old. We've never been apart. Now I don't even have a job anymore. After 15 years, they just tossed me out like an old bag of moldy tangerines. What am I gonna do?
Oh, poor
What
Stanley.
am I gonna do?
Stanley's lost his purpose.
Well, maybe you could come work for me.
But George just gave him a new purpose.
He sure did.
Yeah.
He sure did.
And that launches the whole new adventure.
It does. He becomes a part of the new channel
62. So it comes on over. George is trying his best to kind of, do right by the people who work for him. And he clearly has made a effort to do right by Pamela, who, as we listened to earlier, news was her forte.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's put her out in the field. And is there, goes to City Hall to report on the mayor's something or another. Partnered with the cameraman Noodles McIntosh.
Noodles McIntosh, yep.
Oh, jeez.
And
poor Noodles.
Yeah, the team from Channel 8 is there as well, and they are just a bunch of fucking douchebags.
Oh, yeah.
As Pamela's rushing up to, get a word from the mayor, they trip Noodles.
They do. Break the camera.
Yeah, and not good guys.
Oh, did I do that? Oopsie.
Noodles, those things are fragile. You should be more careful.
Here he is now. I think that we should be able to...
Hey, sweetheart, take my advice. Broads don't belong in broadcasting.
Now, this is going to be very TV nerd of me because, being a television radio person, went to college for this.
Mm-hmm.
That camera, and this is something I didn't appreciate when I was a kid, but watching it now, it's like, there ain't no way they're broadcasting with that camera.
No, not at all.
I did appreciate, though. It had the interchangeable lens on the front end.
It did, with the dial.
Old school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But it was also connected to nothing.
Yeah, connected absolutely nothing. But yeah, he gets tripped and, gets a giant big boo-boo on his elbow.
Yeah, big old boo-boo.
Yeah. And, they're a bunch of jerks.
And she doesn't get the story.
Doesn't get the story. And, I love, then the follow-up, Pamela at least has some balls because she calls up RJ Fletcher to tell them, how dare you, that this is your people and this is how they operate. But RJ, in very RJ fashion, explains that he doesn't give a shit.
I don't know how many times I've told those boys never call chicks broads.
Never call chicks broads.
No.
RJ's just a classy fella.
Oh, he's terrible. Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Such a good guy.
About this time, though, is also when we get one of the cameos you mentioned, Brian. Emo Phillips shows up during a Town Talk with George episode, where I forget the exact character name, but essentially he's a shop teacher.
Yeah,
demonstrating how to use a very sophisticated piece of equipment.
His name was Joe Early.
Oh, Joe Early. Joe Early.
Joe Early. He was the shop teacher.
Shop teacher demonstrating how to use a table saw.
But he also didn't know what a table saw was called.
Yeah.
And it was George that filled him in on that it's called a table saw.
And I loved even the face afterward that he made towards George, like,
you smarty pants.
Yeah. And while demonstrating, he cuts off his thumb.
He does, and it squirts like a sieve.
This is probably when I was a kid, this is like one of my favorite moments.
Yeah,
because he's just spraying blood everywhere, and the camera guy is about ready to vomit. Yeah,
just call me Mr. Butterfingers. I think it's on the floor somewhere. Oh. Is my face red?
As it's covered with blood.
Right, yeah. It's red for two different reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, this is also where we get one of the greatest other great moments of the movie. The Spatula City commercial.
Yeah, so in the middle of watching this movie cuts to commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And we get Spatula City.
Fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie was filmed in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Correct.
And to make this movie, they put up a billboard for Spatula City.
Yeah.
And it was actually up for a long time after this movie came out. And people would see that billboard and they were pissed off that they could not find Spatula City.
Oh, no.
They thought it was a thing. And so, yeah, I mean, it
Like, I mean, have you ever been driving down like 70 and you saw like the quilt museum? And you're like, I have no interest in quilts whatsoever, but I kind of want to see what this is about.
I kind of want to see the people
right
who stop and see what it's about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
so kind of the same lines there. Like
right?
You saw Spatula City. Like, I want to go.
Well,
I'm interested.
I mean, years ago, I lived in Peoria, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And Peoria, Illinois has always been kind of historically, there was a phrase, if it plays in Peoria, because it was kind of seen as like an any town USA. And so it was kind of a test market for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
The outdoor advertising agents, companies, wanted to kind of basically do a test kind of thing to see what the viability of billboard marketing actually was.
Yeah.
And so someone came up with this brainchild of an idea. Let's come up with the most absurd product possible. And we will put a billboard campaign out and we will see what kind of response we can get.
Uh-huh.
So they came out with this product. It wasn't actually a product.
Right.
It's called Outhouse Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
bottled
my
water.
God. I remember this.
Truly recycled water. And they came up and the advertising campaign would be like the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. And they would skip P.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end it'd be like, what happened to the P? We put it in the water. And it was like the most disgusting idea that essentially it was recycled water. Now, now in reality, most of our water is the water we drink is recycled
for sure
in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But they were basically putting out there that this was recycled water
from an outhouse.
Yeah, and there was enough demand that they actually came out with a limited run of the product.
Oh wow.
I've actually got a bottle.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Nice. Just based on the fake billboard.
Yeah, because there was enough demand just from the billboards.
That's so cool.
So yeah, the fact that there was a Spatula City billboard that people wanted to go see Spatula. I don't even know if they saw UHF, but they saw it and like, oh, I know you could use a spatula.
You know, it's really funny because I was driving. Like, I never thought about how a billboard, like I guess if they're out there, they have to work, right?
Yeah.
But thinking about their viability, like I used to, like when I would drive down to pick up the kids and we'd be driving back, there was a billboard that we remembered in Kentucky, I think Kentucky or Tennessee, one or the other. And it said, "Don't be a quitter." And it was an advertisement for a liquor store. And like, obviously I never stopped there because I had my kids with me, but I was like, man, I'd stop into that one and see what that's all about.
Well, I told a story earlier that was just about me and Brian. I'm going to tell one about me and you now, Justin.
Uh-oh.
Do you remember years ago when we did that trip out to Iowa to shoot a video?
Donate your boat.
Donate your boat.
Yeah, I remember it clearly. Absolutely.
Yeah. So no, billboards are definitely have an impact. But yeah, Spatula City is pretty much exactly what it sounds like.
Don't forget, they make great Christmas presents. And what better way to say I love you than with the gift of a spatula?
Spatula City.
I mean,
we sell spatulas.
Every
and
time,
that's all.
Every time I want to tell my wife that I love her, I give her a spatula.
You should.
Like, she knows. She gets it.
Every time I have a spatula, I spank my wife with it when I walk by. And I think that's one of the reasons why she hates me.
Oh.
You know, I got a birthday coming up.
You
and
do?
if I don't get a spatula from each of you motherfuckers,
I'm going to go buy
I'm
mine.
gonna know.
It's Spatula
I'm going to
City.
know that I'm not loved.
I'm going to buy you the best spatula.
He's
best.
He's
The
gonna
best
he's gonna
spatula.
turn that thing over like a Hallmark card just to make sure it came from Spatula City.
I'm going to engrave Spatula City on a spatula I already have and give it to him.
I mean, it doesn't have to be from Spatula City. I think it's just
You just want
it's
a spatula.
It's just a spatula.
I can do
It's
that.
about love.
You too?
Yeah.
You guys are like a day apart.
Yeah, we are a day apart, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah. I'm good with the spatulas.
You don't want any more?
I got plenty of spanking spatulas.
Spatulas don't mean love to you?
No, well, no.
What's
I
your
mean,
birthday love language?
booze.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
maybe
I could do that.
that or blowjobs.
Hey.
Zip, zip, cut, cut, snip, snip.
I could do that too.
Boy, this beer's potent.
Who bought the high intensity beer over here? Damn.
That'd be me. You know, I missed I saw tropical and I saw beer hug, but I missed the word imperial.
And 9.9%.
So today's episode is brought to you by Goose Island Beer Company. 9.9% alcohol by volume, the tropical beer hug.
You know, and this is a good time as any to bring it up.
It'll
It'll
grip
make
you.
you give your friends blowjobs.
Yeah, it'll get you from behind.
If nowhere else. You know, I don't think we've ever actually talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
So far, I think for almost every episode, we've tried to match the discussion of the podcast to our beer choice.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
In the most superficial ways possible.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when we talked about Flash Gordon, we had Space Camper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When we talked about
Mr. Mom,
we had a couple. We had some Skipjack.
we had Skipjack for
Butler,
Jack, yeah.
as well as some Mother's Brewing.
Mother's Brewing.
Mr. Mom. And also Brian brought some Mom's Water.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Just fantastic.
And for this one, I was hard pressed to find something that would work, but I found Tropical Beer Hug. And one of my fondest memories of Weird Al was his tropical shirts. So I thought it would work. So I saw the tropical. I just missed the imperial part of the IPA.
Now I will say I'm kind of disappointed, Seth, that you did not bring up the best beer in relation to a movie that we've watched.
Oh my God.
We watched Rad.
Yes.
And there is a beer by Sierra Nevada called
Rad Little Thing.
Oh, it's because it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Meant to be.
It was radical.
We are off the rails.
Totally off the rails. All right. So let's kind of bring this back in. So, back at U62, we have Uncle Nutsy's Clubhouse. This is George kind of trying to run a kid show. And he's like, "Hey, kids, what's your name?" Billy. Billy, what? Puh, right in his face.
Billy, for real, spit in his face.
He was Billy was a dick.
That
and
was.
I wonder how many takes that took, because that hawker landed straight on his nose and started dripping off.
It dripped. It was perfect.
It was the perfect shot.
And that was a freaking Breaking Bad pizza on the roof.
It was.
Right.
Yep.
Maybe it was one shot and it was just perfect in that first one. Like, how many times could you take getting spit in the face by a brat ass kid?
Depends on how much you pay me.
I mean, the movie was only $5 million. How much of that went to Weird Al?
Okay, well,
maybe he's just doing it for the art
was
of it.
$5 million.
Considering the movie, most of it.
It was a really good chunk, but it was $5 million. But the majority of it, I am sure, had to go into the parodies and all the other things that are in this movie.
Oh, all the
I think the
rights and
actual
things.
plot line, not that much.
It's $30.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, I watched something on Napoleon Dynamite the other day, and man, I forgot what that movie was made for, but it was like well under $1 million,
and
that was a full feature film. And I don't think the actual plot part of this movie is really that much better than Napoleon Dynamite in terms of its composition and filmmaking.
Yeah.
So of their $5 million budget, it was probably well under $1 million to make the actual movie.
Yeah, I bet.
And most of it was just Weird Al having a really fun time.
Yeah, he had a good time.
Which, hey,
more power to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, but also in this, we get a great moment with Bobo the Clown. And this is Bob comes out dressed in full clown regalia. And yeah.
Hey, Bobo, want to play a game? Okay, look up, look down, now look at Mr. Frying Pan. Uh-oh, Bobo fall down, go boom.
Yeah. And then, proceeds to feed him, a variety of Yappy's dog treats.
He sure does, yeah.
Instead of Mrs. Butterworth's cookies.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we get on the train of awful.
There are. I will give you. There's some stupidity in here.
Yeah.
But I also, part of me again, being the Weird Al fan, for me, one of his greatest albums was Dare to Be Stupid. So I will go on the stupid train, even today.
I will dare to be stupid with Al.
Absolutely.
I'll stay on the platform.
I'm not taking that
ride. So George, in true George style, though, breaks into programming to announce put out a special bulletin, which he invites Terry out for a special birthday dinner. Tells her to invite her parents, and he'll meet her at this fancy restaurant. While she is doing dental work of some kind on a patient, then basically, I assume, stabs him in the mouth with a Sharpie point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Takes her by surprise a bit.
Yeah. George, while still at work, falls asleep while a rerun of Beverly Hillbillies is on. But that launches us into what is really the one and only music parody of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And which is what Weird Al is known for.
Oh, it's a sweet spot.
Yeah. And so he, I think, throws a little bit of fan service into here and gives us a complete music video, a parody of Dire Straits' Money for Nothing, which is basically all about Jed Clampett and Beverly Hillbillies.
Yep.
This is kind of the point where I was like, what the hell's going on?
If you had never seen it before, and certainly if you were not familiar with Dire Straits' Money for Nothing and the video.
Oh, I recognize the video right away.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't,
I knew that part of it.
I want my MTV.
Right.
But if you didn't know that video, you would probably look at this and you would be like, what the fuck is this fever dream?
Right. What did I just eat?
To me, it was more like, this is just is this like a promo for like your normal stuff, Weird Al? Like, what does this have to do with the movie?
It seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And all the other parodies were like movie parodies or commercial parodies.
Right.
But here we have a music video and a music parody. And yeah, it kind of came out of left field to me.
It did. And the only thing
it was unprompted, unwarranted, like just, oh, okay.
It doesn't really fit.
What does this have to do with anything?
It doesn't. It
Right.
has nothing to do with anything other than the people who watched this movie were probably Weird Al fans, and his Weird Al fans liked his music, liked his parodies, and would like this thing.
Yeah, sure.
That was it.
Did he debut this parody in the movie?
Yeah, this was not from any of his previous albums. The only place this parody, the Beverly Hillbillies parody showed up was on the UHF soundtrack.
So this was a shameless plug.
Sure. This was just I think honestly, that's it. This was a shameless, if anything, it was a shameless plug for the soundtrack for the movie. But yeah, I mean, it was just filler. It really came down.
And so
That's
in the song, instead of "I Want My MTV," it's Beverly Hillbillies.
Beverly Hillbillies. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But George just woke up from his fever dream by Stanley. And he's asking if you travel through outer space at the speed of light and you start screaming, would your brain blow up? And this though leads up to another great moment for Bob, I think, where he's like, "Hey guys, I'm working. Do you mind?"
Guys, I'm trying to work. Do you mind?
Oh, I don't mind. Go right ahead. Do you mind, George?
We don't mind if you work.
No, you do your thing. Won't bother us. Once George comes to, Bob has some good news and bad news. The bad news is that basically the station is on the verge of going out of business.
Right, they're going broke. They only have enough money to last a week.
Yeah.
Right.
What's the good news?
I lied. There is no good news.
There's none.
None.
Man, when somebody tells you you
I
got
never
good
should've
news and
taken this
bad
job.
news.
Should have known it would turn out like all the others. For a short time there, I really thought this was going to be different. I just don't know anymore. Well, at least I've still got Terry.
Uh-oh.
No, you don't.
What time is it?
9:30.
Oh, no!
Yeah.
He stood her up.
And yeah.
And her parents.
Yeah, and she's not happy.
Nope. I wouldn't be either.
Did you notice that Terry wore a prom dress?
Oh,
to dinner, like
with the puffy sleeves. It's a nice place. And she wore the quintessential 80s dress with the big giant puffy sleeves. Looked like a prom dress.
That was a prom dress. It sure was.
With the side pony.
Yep.
Right.
Kind of looked like Deb from Napoleon Dynamite.
It did.
Yeah.
Did they steal from that? I could see it.
Yeah. So she basically tells him, "I never want to talk to you again."
Right. He keeps calling her after that, but she doesn't pick up the phone.
Nope. Yeah.
Things just get more sad and more sad from here.
Yeah. And so, George tries to pick up the pieces as best as his broken heart can manage and, continues to move forward. So we have Uncle Nutsy's Playhouse again.
I want to go home.
Shut up, you little weasel.
Yeah. Uncle Nutsy's having a bad day.
He's having a super bad day.
Mm-hmm.
But he does something that's fairly serendipitous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he sure does.
He leaves.
He does.
Yeah. And, Bob's like, "Hey, you still got a show going on. What are you going to do?" And he's like, Stanley's standing there. He's like, "Hey, Stanley, want your own TV show?" And Stanley's like, "Okay." And so Stanley goes out and, so then George and Bob, go off to get a drink. George doesn't drink, clearly, because when he gets to a bar, his order is a blueberry daiquiri. Bartender brings drinks, brings Bob a beer, brings George some form of drink. Who knows what it is? Bob wants to know, why didn't I get an umbrella? But what's, this is one of those things that always bothers me when we do it. It bothered me in Rad whenever Crew's mom just turned on the TV and just happened to be friggin' Hell Track qualifiers. It bothers me here too, even though I love this movie. Just happens that all the people in the bar just happened for some reason to be watching U62.
Right. At the time that, like in a bar, number one, it's a kid show. So it's sometime during the day.
Uh-huh.
Why is the bar watching a kid show?
And it's a pretty full bar.
Like, yeah.
Pretty full bar of people. And it's not even that people are watching it. People are calling the bartender to want to know if he's been watching it. Like this is like an event moment.
Right.
People are glued to Channel 62 because of this children's show.
Look,
right.
I don't want to be crass here. There's only been like one moment in my life I can ever remember people calling me out of the blue to say, "Hey, are you watching this?"
Was it Friends?
It was 9/11.
Oh, okay. A little different, but same.
Different.
A little bit different, but same.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the only time that I've ever gotten a phone call that said, turn on the news and watch it right now, or turn on channel whatever and watch it right now. That's the only time in my life that's happened.
As much as I like the programming ideas of U62, I don't know that it reaches that 9/11 status.
And you also like, why is a bunch of, like, it's daytime and you got a bunch of drunk people at a bar. Why do they care about a kids program?
You
know what I mean? Like they don't care about that.
This is a moment though I've seen in other movies, kind of like that hard biker bar type people kind of gathering around the TV in that soft environment. Again, I'm going to throw it out again. Elf. There's a moment whenever like they're rattling off the people who are in the on Santa's list, and there's suddenly the cutaway to the bar, and the guy's like, "Oh, that wasn't me." Just something about biker bars and guys watching TV in the middle of the day.
Yeah, all right, I get it.
Yeah. But Stanley is man, he's a star instantly.
He's knocking it out of the park.
He's knocking it out of the park
just by being who he is.
Yeah, and he delivers this monologue straight out of the movie Network that just gets everybody completely excited.
Hey! These floors are dirty as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I mean, I don't know about you guys. I feel pumped just hearing that even tiny bit. I could punch somebody.
Maybe it's just you.
It's probably is.
I just feel like
it might be all the Imperial IPAs. I don't know.
I just feel like the floor needs to be mopped. It's dirty as hell.
Yeah.
I have killed multiple flies in this room.
He's not going to take it anymore, so
right.
Go mop them. That's what I got. But, to each their own.
Yeah. But in the aftermath, man, everyone is so excited. Stanley Spadowski is a new star. The show was sold out for months. Sponsors love him. And Bob's suggestion is that man, we got to come up with some new ideas.
Stanley Spadowski's clubhouse is sold out for the next 3 months. The sponsors love him.
I just said that.
If we had a few more shows like this, we'd really be in business.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I've been working on some new ideas. Tell me what you think.
So some of the wonderful ideas that come out of the brain of George, we have Wheel of Fish.
Wheel of Fish.
Starring Cooney.
Oh, red snapper. It's very tasty.
We get Secrets of the Universe with Philo.
Today, we're going to learn to make plutonium from common household items.
And we get Raoul's Wild Kingdom.
Today, we're teaching Poodles how to fly. Come here, Foofy. Foofy, are you psyched? Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Get ready and fly!
So,
oh, man.
Did you notice when they panned away from his apartment building?
There's a pile
there
of
was
poodles.
This giant pile of poodles.
And before the poodle flying thing, I don't know if you noticed this. He was doing like this introduction to like things. And he's like, here's my favorite turtle. He licked it. He licked the turtle and then threw it.
It threw it to the ceiling and it stuck.
But
I don't know if you know, but turtles are nature's suction cup.
And when it panned away, he had on a Crew Jones leg bandana.
What?
It was red.
How did I not catch
and it was
that?
up at his thigh. And I was like, you've been riding your BMX, haven't you?
Maybe.
Go back and watch it. It'll be
So-
there if you dare.
So we talked, Brian brought it up earlier. The actor who plays Raoul passed away from a car crash during the making of this movie. So
Yeah.
the role was kind of cut back.
Trinidad Silva. Yeah.
So every other character who has a show has a connection. So Wheel of Fish is with Cooney, who is George's neighbor. Philo worked at the station. Raoul was going to be the mailman. but they cut it back because, the car crash.
Oh.
So that's why he's the outlier here.
Right.
But
yeah, they never really finished his arc because of the tragedy. Yeah.
But he gets some great moments, you know?
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, really?
I mean, I think so.
I mean, he says the iconic line, Badgers. We don't need no stinking badgers.
Yeah.
Which is a line that's been requoted and misquoted in movie after movie after movie.
It has, because that's originally from The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Yes, where the actual line is badges. We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Yeah.
That was the original quote.
Wait.
Wow.
But you're right. The truncated version popped up, I don't know how many places. It's in Blazing Saddles.
Mm-hmm.
Blazing Saddles, yeah.
There's another movie also came out in 1989.
Cheech and Chong, Up in Smoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Monkees.
Yep.
Troop Beverly Hills.
That's what I was saying. It came out in 89. That was Patches. We don't need no stinking patches.
Yeah, it was in DuckTales, Johnny Dangerously in 1984, and it was actually season 2, episode 4 in Breaking Bad.
Okay. So it's been around.
Yeah. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a quote that it was also in the movie Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, it's been around.
Badgers? Badgers? We don't need no stinking badgers!
That's it.
Well, over at Channel 8, RJ is celebrating Father's Day in the most douche way imaginable. His son gives him a watch, but apparently it's not what he wants.
What is this piece of crap? I thought I told you I wanted a Rolex! A Rolex!
I bring that up because it's important later.
It does. It resurfaces.
Yeah. But back at U62, Stanley is in fine form. The clubhouse is just a rocking, and Joel Miller just found the marble in the oatmeal.
Oh, Joel Miller, you just found the marble in the oatmeal. You're a lucky, lucky, lucky little boy, because you know why? You get to drink from the fire hose!
Okay, you ready? Open wide!
Kid gets blasted across the studio.
So now, is it just me, or does "you found the marble in the oatmeal" sound like a euphemism?
I mean, kind of. I will also admit that I for a long time, I thought that this phrase originated with UHF, drinking from the fire hose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. In fact, I was I won't say where it was, but there was a job I started at, and they basically told me, it's like, oh, for your first month here, you're gonna be really drinking from the fire hose. And I thought, oh my God, I found my people, a bunch of UHF fans. I didn't know that this was a phrase before UHF.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, silly you. We live and learn. Did they end up being your people?
No, not really.
Aw.
They were good people.
Okay.
I still like those people,
But not UHF people.
not to the extent I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, they thought Albert Pujols was more important there on the weekend. Yeah. Anyway. And also, God, what would happen if you actually opened a fire hose up on somebody's mouth?
Well, a child's mouth.
I mean,
talking about the lawsuit. Holy cow, I'd rip his head right off.
Like, I mean, I've actually used a fire hose at the mill. That's what you use to spray down behind the mill, like, and spray all the scale back.
Yeah.
And you had to have two hands on that thing just to hold it in the same spot. And you also had somebody behind you holding it. So if you lost it, they would be able to keep a hold of it.
But the sheer volume of water.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're not holding on to it when it kicks on, it's going to throw you around. It really will.
That kid's head would have been blown clean off.
Oh, I'm sure. Probably would have been, yeah. It's like the whip in the arm in the beginning.
Which would almost be as violent as the next thing we want to get to. Conan the Librarian.
Conan the Librarian, another little commercial spoof here.
Yeah, and so this movie has a couple different movie promos in it. I don't think these were meant to say that they were produced by U62, but these are the kinds of movies that would be shown late nights on independent TV stations back in the 1980s. And this was, I guess, some sequel to Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Librarian.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me where I can find a book on astronomy?
Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System?
And he cuts him right in half.
Well, yeah.
Oh, that was the guy returning the book.
I'm bringing these back a little bit late. Yeah, he just cleaves him in half.
And that book was Gone with the Wind.
Was it really?
It was.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
But the ratings are in at U62, and apparently they're number one.
Holy cow, they are.
Yeah, and Stanley Spadowski is through the roof. They've got top or 5 shows or multiple shows in the top 5, and Stanley Spadowski is pulling a 60 share, which means 60% of the viewers at that time are watching Stanley Spadowski, which is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
That's like Super Bowl numbers.
It is.
For a daily TV show.
A children's show, nonetheless.
Well, hey, like we talked about last week, or last episode.
They are eye candy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we watched kid shows.
Mm-hmm. With our kids.
There ain't no shame.
No. I've even watched them without my kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You look at whenever he was the marble in the oatmeal. It was just a little kid and 2 grown ass adults.
I mean, I don't know what it means, but it sounds like a euphemism.
Could be. If nothing else, you just start using it that way.
I mean, I will.
Just go to your wife like, hey. Hey, babe, you want to find the marble in the oatmeal?
I like that. I'm going to use that. Hell yeah.
I just take mine to Spatula City.
We sell spatulas. All right. But anyway, so U62 is number 1. RJ, though, over at Channel 8 is pissed.
He's mad.
This is an embarrassment, a disgrace. What do you think R.J. Fletcher Sr. would be saying if he were alive today?
Help, let me out of this box. I can't breathe in here. Help, let me out.
We've got to do something. We've got to do it fast. Who owns that station anyway?
Well, as we know, Uncle Harvey owns the station.
He does.
And Uncle Harvey just so happens to now be in a bit of a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Big Louie gives him a call, has some bad news. None of Harvey's horses came in, and he now owes Big Louie $75,000.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And Big Louie expects payments in 2 days.
10 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah. So whenever Harvey gets a call from RJ almost immediately afterwards, it's not a big shock. And this happens off screen, but apparently Harvey agrees to sell the station to RJ
for $75,000, who can pay off his betting bet.
Yeah. Now this is the other thing. For some reason,
betting debt. I said betting bet.
Betting bet.
But it says betting debt.
A betting bet.
I blame the beer.
Yeah, is the Imperial hitting you too?
It is.
It's a 9.9er.
Ooh-wee.
So this is now the other moment. For some reason, it has never occurred to me prior to today.
Uh-huh.
RJ shows up at U62 to take measurements and basically to gloat about the fact how he just bought the station.
Right.
Even though he hasn't actually paid for the station. He just has vocal agreement.
Yeah, verbal. Yeah.
A verbal agreement.
He let the cat out of the bag.
He let the cat out of the bag.
They never would have known they were going to be
right.
sold.
If you were any kind of a smart villain, you just would have stayed over at Channel 8 and kept your damn mouth shut.
And the other part of that too is, why are you taking measurements if you're just going to bulldoze it down anyway? Which he alludes to. He's like, we'll just bulldoze the whole thing come whatever day.
I was totally on board with this movie until that point.
Yeah.
That's when it went off the rails. No, I'm kidding.
That's when it went off the rails.
I was so far away from the rails already by this point.
That's when it stopped making sense.
The opening credits did that for me.
Right.
All right. But yeah. George then calls his aunt, and she makes Harvey give George a chance. $75,000 in 2 days.
George, what's the matter? Stanley, you don't want to know.
Why'd I ask?
Inspiration strikes, and next thing we know, the Save Our Station telethon is on the air.
Yeah, and the telethon's not a bad idea.
No, and they're actually selling shares of the station.
Right.
What a neat idea.
Yeah, you can buy into it. And I mean, like, how many telethons happen all the time? I'm like, that's not a bad part of the plot.
Well, okay. So this was the other thing I wouldn't have ever known as a young person. But now as an adult who has at least a degree of experience with LLCs and corporate structures, that doesn't work. You are not coming up with a shareholding agreement with a corporation and all that quickly.
Well, I mean, you're not publicly traded anyway, right? So
maybe it's a symbolic share.
Maybe. But anyway, basically what it comes down to it, they're selling 7,500 shares at $10 a piece.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe they've incorporated the printing of the certificates, all that. I don't know. Regardless, that's the thing. They need to come up with $75,000. They're doing it in 2 days. They're doing the whole show and trying to get people to buy in so that the station will own, or they will all own the station.
Uh-huh.
RJ's upset. Everyone's pissed off. Blah, 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 blah. Terry goes to confront RJ about this. And basically is like, how dare you? Why are you creating this problem? George has turned the station into something that this community can be proud of.
George Newman has turned that little station into something this community cares about.
George Newman is a two-bit little punk who should never have stuck his nose where it didn't belong.
And he goes on even further.
He does.
Yeah, he basically calls the community a festering bowl of dog snot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, and something I forgot to bring up.
Yes.
Philo has put a spy camera in RJ's office.
A very discreet.
Oh, less than discreet.
Camera.
I mean, this thing, you could not have found a more ginormous spy camera.
It looks like a tin can sticking out of the ceiling.
It does. And anybody who wouldn't notice that from your drop ceiling in your office, like, my goodness. But, it is. It's campy, right? Like,
but, hey, he got it all on video.
He did.
Yeah, and so recorded the whole thing. It'll come back later. Yeah, and so, but the, telethon's going well, and RJ is like, hey, tells his goons, like, I think you need to go and maybe pay our friend Stanley a visit. And so they show up, knocking on the door and to Stanley's, dressing room. It's like, Stanley Spadowski, we have a pizza. And so Stanley, gets kidnapped.
He got real excited about that
He's
pizza.
like, oh, pizza. And they whisk him off. Takes a while for Stanley to realize they're not the pizza guys.
Right.
And ultimately he's, just, I gotta say, he's like the worst imaginable prisoner.
He just won't stop. He just won't stop talking.
Don't stop talking. Somewhere during this whole thing, we also get another movie parody, Gandhi 2.
This one really confused me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was confusing?
Well, from what I know of Gandhi, he's a very peace-loving individual.
Then what do you not understand? Because he says right from the beginning, this is no more Mr. Passive Resistance.
Right. Now we have Gandhi who's out for revenge?
Punching through bellies?
Yeah.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Right.
He's a one-man wrecking crew. But he also knows how to party.
And party.
Give me a steak, medium rare.
There is only one law. His law. Gandhi 2.
So he parties by having a medium rare steak.
Well, Gandhi was a vegetarian.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
He ends the hunger strike.
And I will say, I knew Gandhi too before I ever saw Gandhi.
Okay.
So,
all right.
When I was a kid, I just thought it was funny. And then, years later, when I actually saw Gandhi, something I actually appreciate Gandhi too even more, just how flipped on his lid actually was.
Mm-hmm.
But no, yeah. Just totally, setting on fire. But back to Stanley, he's still in captivity. Again, still being super obnoxious. And they drag him off into another room, and they've got him, he's still like, singing the Bonanza theme and just being obnoxious to the point that they want to, debating whether they just shoot him.
Right.
Right. Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah. And eventually the head henchman tries to talk him down.
I don't want to have to tell you this again. Shut up. You're making us nuts. Now, I got 3 guys out here that would love to cut your tongue out. But I don't want them to do that. I told them in another couple of hours this whole thing would be over. So stand. Be nice.
He saw his mop.
Because this whole time he has been held captive in the Channel 8 warehouse.
Right.
Where they put his mop after ripping it out of his hands. Stanley sees his mop and is suddenly empowered.
Yep.
And essentially hulks out, breaks his bindings, and just goes apeshit.
For the mop.
Yeah. And he gets his mop and just starts beating people left and right. It leads then into him, being chased through the Channel 8 offices, go over top cubicles, knocking things over. The best moment of this, though, is whenever he's being chased and he somehow picks up a staple gun and is firing staples over his shoulder.
Uh-huh.
And those staples remain in that character's face for the rest of the movie.
They sure do.
But it gets chased into RJ's office. And while in RJ's office, he's trying to barricade the door shut in this, another, sight gag, because this movie is full of them. He's barricading the door closed, moving every bit of furniture he can over. And then finally, last one, he's going to put this little plaque in the perfect spot. And it's like he's admiring his barricade.
Right.
And they just toss a chair through the window.
Right. Yeah.
It's like for nothing.
All for nothing.
But finally, Philo's camera, again, comes in handy. Philo sees that they have Stanley in the office. And so George rushes off to save Stanley, which brings us into another parody.
Yep.
This time, Rambo.
So this is what started my favorite sequence of this entire movie.
Okay.
The whole thing. So whatever you're going to play, go ahead and do it.
Oh, I don't want to get that.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, because really, there's not a lot of dialogue in this section.
No, but there's a lot of grunting.
There's a lot of grunting
and grimacing.
So much grunting.
A lot of grunting. And he does his best horrible Sylvester Stallone cameo.
Yeah.
And he goes through here. It's exploding bad guys with a compound bow. He's
hold on.
My favorite.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
So we got to back up a little bit. The fake muscle suit.
Yeah.
To start this whole thing off was one of my favorite things. The explosive arrow. This. So it's this guy with a machine gun shooting him,
mowing him away,
and then him getting this arrow out, and then the machine gun, it just keeps cutting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And when they show him side by side, they are
3 feet apart from each other,
right? 3 feet apart, and he pulls this arrow and lets it go, and the other guy just explodes into these tiny little bitty pieces. It is unbelievably hilarious.
Yeah. Well, it kind of totally magnifies that trope of every Rambo movie, where, the bad guys are shooting thousands of bullets and they don't hit him. And then he picks up a gun and there's all these bad guys along the ridgeline and he just pop, 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 and they all fall over dead.
Yeah.
You know, like only Rambo can shoot people.
But,
exactly.
But he goes to save Stanley, and he works his way through the prison camp, and he gets up, and initially you see him like looking through this little slit in the cage or the prison door, and Stanley gets excited and he opens the door, and it's not until he cuts to the wide shot that you realize the cage was pretty much wide open.
Yeah,
there's no need to be looking at this. And on top of it, the cage wasn't even locked.
Yeah,
and
it was like a little gate latch.
Yeah, gate latch. And so they escape, and they go to the helicopter rides
for $20.
Yeah. Now here's a moment that could have been even so much better, because apparently Sylvester Stallone had agreed to do a cameo as the guy selling the helicopter rides.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Way.
Yeah, that would have been
But
cool.
it was like a last minute scheduling issue came up and he couldn't do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. That'd have been funny.
It would have been hilarious. But yeah, we have, him just mowing down guys with a machine gun. And then one moment, what bad guy shoots him with his pistol. He catches the bullet in his mouth and just spit fires him back, blowing things up again. Gets in the helicopter with fuzzy dice and a hula girl on the dash. Going head to head with RJ in the Channel 8 copter. Blows it up. Blows up the Eiffel Tower, blows up the Coliseum, blows up the Hollywood sign.
So along this time, like, this is where I also had a really good kick out of this, because every time he would blow something up, he would go, and then
and Stanley's like,
the next thing would blow up, and the next thing would blow up. So whenever it bursted into the room at Channel 8, all he did was go, and nothing. Exactly. And nothing happened the same way. Like, there was no action hero. There was no saving him. It was just like,
just some guy yelling,
here's a gun in your face, and you're held captive too.
And he's like, oh, well, man, this could have gone better. And so, so they're as they're walking out, and then George kind of turns and he kind of pulls a staple out of the guy's face.
Just one.
Yeah.
There's still like 7 left.
Mr. Staple face. And then wags a finger in his face and gives him the red rum. Red rum.
Red rum. Red rum.
What was that?
Hold on. Thought I heard something.
What?
I don't know. I just thought.
Supplies!
Here comes Long Duck Dome.
Yeah, in probably one of the more racially insensitive moments of the movie. They've been hiding in the supplies closet. And there's a surprise.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. So all the bad guys get subdued. And so George and Stanley come back to U-62 triumphant. Everyone's excited.
But they're still short on dough.
They are. They still have about $25,000 to go. But Stanley gives a rousing speech.
There comes a time in every man's life where he has to look the potato of injustice right in the eye. There's a powerful evil force in the universe, and it lives at Channel 8, and I've seen it. And I don't want it to pop its ugly, greasy head around here. Do you? No! I can't hear you! No! I can't hear you! No! Wait a minute. All right, say it again! No! All right!
Over at Channel 8, though, RJ goes on the air to complain on U-62. But Philo hijacks the station signal and airs all of RJ's comments about the community being a festering bowl of dog snot.
From the secret camera that he had placed in his office.
Right. Yeah. Good thing.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Philo.
Yeah.
So Philo saves the day. So many people have saved the day so far in this movie.
It takes a village.
It does.
Yeah.
So many heroes.
Back at the telethon, Terry shows up.
What do you say, stranger?
Terry? What are you doing here? I thought you never wanted to see me again.
Well, whatever gave you that idea?
Well, I think my first clue was when you said you never wanted to see me again.
I mean, it would be a pretty good indicator.
I mean, yeah, like take it for face value.
Yeah, she's proud of George, though. You know, he's done something. He's put in a lot of work.
It's what she wished for him earlier. That
He
she wanted someplace he could use his imagination to succeed. And he did that.
Yeah.
And she's very proud of him.
Yeah.
Uncle Harvey's there. And he lets him know, you know, Big Louie doesn't like to be kept waiting. And so we really need to, you know, get this going. RJ shows up and is a total dick. Big Louie shows up, you know, just rolling up in his giant limo.
And they're about $1,700 short yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, RJ like cuts things off and basically it's like, you're out of time and I, you know, have a deal and you give me the money. And while all this is going on, the change bum shows up.
He does.
Because I forgot to bring it up earlier. But earlier, before Terry confronted RJ at Channel 8, the change bum hit up RJ. And RJ gave him 1 penny.
Right. He sure did.
Turned out that was a really good penny.
That was a pretty special penny.
Yeah.
Hey, mister!
I'm actually... Not now, okay?
Well, I was just wondering if it's too late to buy any of them shares. I'll take whatever you got left.
How much is that?
$2,000.
So with that $2,000 and all the money they've already raised, they have more than enough.
Puts them over the top.
So he hands all that cashola to Big Louie. And Uncle Harvey gladly signs the deed over. And so now they've won.
We did it! The station's done!
Hey! Yay! Woo! So now U62 is owned by the people. RJ is pissed, and he gets a whole lot of comeuppance coming his way.
Oh, yeah. It's not the end for him.
No, because in addition to the fact he just, you know, lost out in this whole deal, the FCC happened to catch hit the comments that Philo aired, and they revoke his FCC license. Pamela calls him a worthless, slobbering pig. His son gets tripped into the mud by Noodles.
Noodles gets his redemption.
Yeah. Whoopsie. He gets kicked in the balls by an old lady. And he finds out that the penny he gave the bum was actually worth a ton.
Hey, I know you. You're the guy that gave me that 1955 double-dyed Denver mint penny. Oh, thanks a lot, mister. That thing was worth a fortune. When I cashed it in, I got enough money to buy a whole bunch of shares. Plus, I got me a real neat watch. It's a Rolex.
Which is what RJ always wanted.
Yep, but the change bum has it.
You know, during this whole kind of afterglow, there are a few other things that are worth throwing out there. George gives Stanley a trophy, best janitor and TV host, which Stanley is incredibly grateful.
Nobody's
for.
ever given him a trophy before.
Oh,
Never.
I mean, it's probably the greatest moment of his life,
other than getting the mop. Yeah,
could be. And then, but Claire's, you know, George, you're my best friend, and goes off to show everybody. We also have a moment with Philo.
Yeah.
And Brian, you kind of teased this earlier.
Well, it appears my work on this planet is complete. I must now return to my home on the planet Zarkon.
Okay, well, have fun.
Just love the deadpanness of the response. I mean, how else would you respond to that?
Right.
All right.
And what a crazy face.
Yeah.
That Philo has now.
He turns back into his alien form, and then
it's very clay-like.
Yeah, dissipates into the night and zooms back to the mothership. Apparently,
he sure did.
Yeah,
he sure did.
And I would have loved more backstory on that guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, he was cool.
Even there's so much more that he could have done with his alien abilities.
Right.
You know.
Only he'd use his powers for good.
Well, he did.
Well, I mean, even more good. Like actually good, not just U62 better.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I feel like a mission could have gone a little bit bigger, but hey, whatever. Movie. And, speaking of which, we close things out in this film with one more parody as Terry comes up to George. It's like, all these fantasies you have, do you think I could be part of them? And we wrap things up, Gone with the Wind style.
Oh, George.
Darling, let's leave this place right now. Let's go this very minute.
No, dear, please. Let's wait till tomorrow.
But why? Why?
Because tomorrow is another day.
I knew she was going to say that.
And that's it. Yeah, that's the end of UHF.
Thank God.
But as we kind of talked about from the get-go, there's a lot of silliness here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of sidebars. There's a lot of parodies. There's a lot of commercials and movie things and music videos, but there's the plot. It's a little on the thin side. I'll give you that.
It is. It's on the thin side, but I wouldn't say that it's the worst one we've reviewed yet.
Okay. What would you give that honor to?
This is sacrilegious, but I'm going to go rad. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
Like this at least had like a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like rad was montage.
Yeah, it was a lot.
More so than the plot, and there was more questions than answers. Like this one, at least it was like they knew what they were driving towards. They knew how to get to that point, and they knew how to resolve the issue. Was it goofy along the way? Hell yeah, it was. And was that distracting? Hell yeah, it was. But like it wasn't the thinnest plot line I've ever watched at all. Not at all.
Brian, what were your thoughts?
I had a hard time focusing. This thing was just so disjointed, all over the place. I'm not huge on the slapstick comedy, but I can appreciate it. But there was just so much of it. It's almost like somebody took a bunch of ideas, threw them at the wall, see what sticks, and that's what we're going with.
Maybe it's just my ADHD brain.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I don't have to focus on one thing very long. And each of these small things in their own way are pretty darn good.
It's like its own subplot every time you see this one weird cut.
Yeah.
I can understand where you're coming from there. It's almost like the whole is made up of all these little elements. And each one kind of stands on its own. So I can see that comment. That's a good one.
Don't get me wrong. I can enjoy, just a standard full blown plot line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how many times I've watched Lord of the Rings and sat through 3 to 4 hours of plot and exposition and action. But this is to me, it's like a brain vacation.
Okay.
So for me though, the only thing is like if there's 75 subplots, I want all 75 of those to tie up in a nice little bow at the end and make sense together. And this one just did not do that.
Well, I mean, you didn't. You're right. If you want to say there's 75 subplots, you could.
I had to dig through to find the plot.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like there was so much other stuff going on that I was like, okay, this has nothing to do with the story. I like it for what it is, but like, I got to dig and find what is actually applicable to the plot here.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah. Just me.
All right.
I like a little bow.
What did you guys think about the soundtrack?
I
thought the soundtrack was just as absurd as everything else. So I thought it fit.
Well, again, I am very familiar with the UHF soundtrack because I listened to it quite a bit, growing up, having it as a cassette tape. And so like those little, I want to be your hog, like whenever Harvey's in the pool and these different things. It's like, I know those moments. I know those songs. I recognize all of them. The theme song to UHF that plays here. And also like there's whenever Stanley Spadowski's coming out on the fire truck, with the victory to do the fire hose. That's the song they opened the UHF concert or the Weird Al concert,
with. Yeah.
All these songs have been part of my life for so long. I don't think I'm objective enough to say.
Okay.
Because they're just part and parcel. Like they live rent free in my brain.
I thought that it kept with the theme of being over the top, and everything else was over the top. So I thought actually the soundtrack, I thought the sound of the movie that played in the background, I thought it fit really well with the theme of what this movie was going for.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing was crazy.
Yeah. It was,
so why not have a crazy soundtrack, dude?
Borderline absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell you what, friends, if nobody comes down and buys a car from me in the next hour, I'm gonna club this baby seal. That's right. I'm gonna club a seal to make a better deal.
Want to club a seal to make a better deal.
That commercial right there reminded me of when we were talking like early film production days that we were going to solicit local businesses and make purposely bad commercials.
Well, there's that show, Red Link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's what they used to do.
Right.
Butt drugs.
Yeah, from the pharmacy. Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm going to club a seal.
So what else struck you guys about the movie? I mean, in a general sense. Anything?
It was fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
What I appreciate about it, looking back on it, and I said before, a lot of the performances are very cartoonish.
Mm-hmm.
I think now what I kind of like is it reminds me in back to the days we were in our 20-somethings and we would sit at Justin's house on Sunday nights and we would watch Adult Swim. Because I really feel like it was almost that same energy for an hour and a half of just, a lot of it was just vignettes. The plot was just not that much.
Yeah.
But there were moments in there that just, it'd be no different than watching, Tim and Eric followed by, what was the show with Frylock and,
Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force. That followed by C-Lab 2021. I mean, it was just absurdity followed by absurdity followed by absurdity, which has always just kind of been my wheelhouse.
But do you also remember the show 12 Ounce Mouse?
Yes, I love 12 Ounce Mouse.
Now, whenever you would watch new episodes week to week, like they didn't have reruns. It was like week over week, you got a new episode. But I remember when the show was over, like I remember watching it and being like, none of this makes any sense. This is absurd.
Yeah.
And then when you watch them in the marathon and you got to see them back to back, it was like, oh my God, this is the greatest plot line ever. And all of it made sense.
Well, I do also remember back then, you and I enjoying 12 Ounce Mouse while Brian was like, what is this stupid shit?
but at the same time,
par for the course. Yeah. Yep.
We might have been high. So maybe that made more sense
drunk,
too.
Anyway,
it's
really buzzed.
Like, I'm just like, I'm thinking about that and like, does UHF? No, it doesn't, because I watched it from end to end. Like, I'm just trying to I'm trying to make a point for it, but I can't. Like, I get the plot line, but there was so much weird that just didn't make sense. I think you just have to take it at face value.
What? Just for the sake of argument, what do you feel didn't make sense?
Just like the little sidebars, like all the little sidebars, they weren't necessary. It was Weird Al being Weird Al doing parodies of things. Right. Like, I guess you could call the beginning his daydream, right? Mm-hmm. But then, like, how much more of this was daydream versus like real life stuff? Like, I have no idea. Like, what part of it went into the plot?
So you're saying Town Talk with George and his Geraldo parody?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the shows I get, because he's trying to do a bunch, like a variety of different shows for cable. I get it. Like, he's got a station now. He's got to have a bunch of different things going on. But like, it was a mess.
Yeah. I want to take this a different way because you and I, or all three of us, were alive at the time this movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Some degree of impressionable teenager or children at the time of this movie came out. Most of the references in this movie probably connect with this on some point. What do you think people who watch this movie today would see? Because do you think, like, the mashed potatoes?
Yeah, they wouldn't have got that.
I've known that was Close Encounters of the Third Kind my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have known that Town Talk with George. Actually, let me just hit this up real quick.
Lesbian Nazi hookers abducted by UFOs and forced into weight loss programs. All this week on Town Talk.
Him getting smashed with the chair, and then in the promo also looking for Al Capone's glove box.
Mm-hmm.
I've known that was a parody of Geraldo Rivera my entire life.
With the vault, yeah.
Does this movie hold up if you don't know what the references or parodies of?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
I mean, I'm sure there are people today who don't know who Rambo is who would watch the movie. And they'd be like, what the hell is this?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, what would you think of the Beverly Hillbillies video if you'd never seen the video for Money for Nothing?
This is like an absolute fever dream. Like, this is like an acid trip for somebody that's like never done acid. And they're watching this and they're like,
did somebody spike my drink?
What is this?
Right.
Like, over and over and over. Like, what the hell am I watching?
So, I mean, at best, this is a movie with a shelf life.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you took somebody who's like if I took this to I can't say 12 because my stepson's 12. So let's take my oldest kid, 17,
mm-hmm.
who probably doesn't know any of these references. And I sat them down and like made them watch this movie. They would probably feel like they were on drugs for the first time ever.
Okay. I mean, I think that there's a large part of that, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also just some fresh, original absurdities in here. Kind of in a way, almost in a line with if you listen to a Weird Al album. Yes, there are parodies, but they're not all parodies. Yeah, he has the polka montages of popular music, but that's
Mm-hmm.
not all with the album. He also had original songs in there. So you didn't have to know Smells Like Teen Spirit to enjoy that album. There's other songs in there that you would get. And there were moments in this movie that were absurd just for the sake of being absurd. Like teaching Poodles how to fly. That wasn't a reference to anything.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
I mean,
but I don't think it takes away from
that was quite a pile of poodles.
The idea
it was a heck of a pile of poodles.
That it just feels like you're on drugs. Like, this is a movie geared towards somebody who's high and could get it.
Which from what I understand, Al Yankovic was a very clean living kind of person.
Which is crazier to me to think about.
I cannot say that he isn't a savant.
Yeah.
Like, how does the sober mind think this way?
Right. And for him to do all he's done and for him to come up with all of this sober and drug free.
I mean, kudos, right?
Means he's living in left field.
I said it before, but I'm going to implore it again. You should watch Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
I will definitely watch it.
Just if nothing else for the way they work accordion into being a evil instrument is amazing.
Well, I'll tell you what, like this movie was so bizarre. I'm so intrigued by him that I need to see more.
It's just bizarre to another level. Self-aware bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like when we watched Flash Gordon, we talked about that self-aware campiness.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that movie, this movie takes that to a whole different level. It really, I think, in a way, almost perfects the art form.
It sure does.
If you're into it.
Sure.
If you're not, this is a fever dream.
Right. If you're not into it, it's a tough slog.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, the last couple movies we watched, Mr. Mom, my wife was totally in on sitting down and watching with me. Before that, Dirty Dancing, wife and daughter, all on board. I could not get a taker for UHF. I said, I love this movie since I was a kid. Cameron, I've loved this since I was younger than you. No, they didn't give a shit. Like, you're on your own.
Yeah.
So I know, I get it. This isn't for everybody. But, for those it is for. I'm with you.
And I think that's what it really comes down to, right? Like, Rad wasn't for everybody.
No.
But man, does it hold a special place in the people's hearts that it was made for.
Yeah.
And UHF is the exact same way. It's not for everybody, but it holds a special place in your heart.
It does.
And probably millions of other people.
Yeah.
Maybe tens of other people.
Oh, come on.
And Joe.
And Joe.
And Joe from Minnesota.
What do you say we digress and kind of wrap things up here and head into some final thoughts? Brian, you want to kick things off?
Sure. UHF. You know, that's what happens when you hand a $5 million budget to Weird Al Yankovic and say, go nuts. The result? Spatula stores, Rambo parodies, flying poodles, and a janitor wielding a fire hose like the hand of God. It's not just a movie. It's a fever dream fueled by pop culture, snack foods, and whatever was on basic cable at 2 a.m. in 1989. Like a Twinkie wiener sandwich, it's not for everyone. But for the weirdos, the comedy nerds, and the late-night channel surfers, it's a cult classic that aged like, well, something you probably shouldn't eat. Or watch, for that matter. Come on, guys. I gotta be honest. UHF is cinematic anarchy. It's not ahead of its time. It's a complete waste of time. Critics didn't get it. The box office ignored it. And mainstream audiences were too smart to spend their money on a ticket. This might be the worst movie I've ever seen. And that is saying something because I've watched Hot Shots Part 2.
Oh.
This movie does not hold up. It doesn't hold down. It completely drops the camera and breaks your brain.
Poor Noodles.
I was a full pitcher of margarita in when I watched this, and that still couldn't save it. I feel like I need an intervention with the ghost of Alex Trebek to help me recover my brain cells that I lost watching this film. My God. I hope I don't get my Mensa membership revoked. Lastly, to paraphrase the teacher in Billy Madison, everyone in this room is now dumber for having watched this movie. I award no points to this film, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Blow it out your ears, scuzzbag.
All right, Justin, what do you got?
Oh, man, that was fucking beautiful. So I'm a bit more neutral here. UHF is exactly what you would expect from a Weird Al Yankovic movie. It's bizarre, over the top, and fully committed to its own brand of absurd humor. The plot is chaotic, but not the worst plot line I've ever seen. Brad. And the acting, while exaggerated, fits the campy tone it's clearly going for. The visual effects are rough, and the performances are big, and the whole thing feels like a fever dream.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds familiar. Stitched together with parody skits. But honestly, I think that's the goal. It's not trying to be a polished film. We're not looking for an Oscar. It's trying to be Weird Al through and through. Now that said, would I watch it again? No. Does it hold up? Also no. But in 1989, it delivered exactly what it promised. And that's my take.
Why, you slimy! Oh!
So, it may not be structurally sound, but to me, UHF survives and succeeds on sheer absurdity and heart. Or this film, really, at its heart, is Al Yankovic on film.
Yeah.
If you loved Weird Al in the 1980s to early 90s, this movie is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because the downside of this movie is that so many of the references are dated. You know, so many of the references have a timeline to them. So many of the references, younger people, they're not going to get. So that doesn't mean it's going to be a bad movie for you if you don't know the references, but you're not going to enjoy it as much. If you're like me and love the theater of absurd, if you can just switch off your brain willingly and just go along for a stupid ride full of silly moments, this movie is de-fucking-lightful. But if you need a plot, if you need a narrative that drives the movie, if you need a narrative that really makes everything happen, probably not for you. Brian?
Not for me.
No. I will also admit, much like Brian has in the past, I am the victim of nostalgia. Just like you, Justin, had with Rad. Just like Brian has with Flash Gordon. This movie has a place in my heart that I will never, ever, ever shake it from. It means something to me. It always has. It always will. And I will love this movie until the day I die. You know, at its core, UHF is a story about weirdos finding their place and sticking it to the man. It's timeless enough that even with the dated references, that message still lands today. And beyond that, I gotta say, if UHF is, it's not for everybody, but for the right audience, it is a glorious, quotable mess that holds up as a love letter to weirdness, creativity, and the joy of red snapper. And if nothing else, nothing says I love you like the gift of a spatula. And that's all I gotta say about that.
Damn. That was beautiful.
That hit hard.
Yeah,
it did.
That was better than the movie.
Oh, man.
It's time to call this a wrap on this episode of the Regular Guy Movie Show. We've broken it down, debated the highs and lows, and now it is your turn. What are your thoughts about UHF? Did we get it right, or are we way off mark? Let us know by leaving a comment and adding your 2 cents to the conversation. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. If you have a movie you want us to talk about, kind of like Minnesota Joe did, let us know. Head on over to regularguymovieshow.com and click the Suggest a Movie link, and we might just give it a gander for a future episode. And while you're there, check out our blog and listen to our past episodes. You can also follow us on the socials. Look for the links in the show notes. Thanks for hanging out with us, and as always, be kind, rewind.
The Regular Guy Movie Show, talking flicks. Here we go!
Favorite Weird Al song?
I don't have
You
one.
don't have. Didn't watch the movie? Don't listen to his music?
I mean,
better than his music, I think, are his music videos.
How
awesome was the music video for Eat It?
I think, actually, speaking of his videos, we talked about the Nash Metropolitan or whatever car you thought it was.
Yeah. The 71 chopped gremlin.
I think that makes an appearance in his video for White and Nerdy, which is a parody of Riding Dirty.
Right. Oh, that would be awesome.
It's like I said, I'm not a fan of Weird Al
yet,
but if the opportunity came to see him live, I would take it. It's like kind of the same thing if God, who else? Like somebody else who else is big that I'm not a fan of? Like there's so many.
Celine Dion.
If Celine Dion came to St. Louis and I got free tickets, I would take it.
So you're saying
experience.
Weird Al is the Celine Dion of parodies?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
That's what I heard.
I've never seen either one of them, so I can't say until I see them both. And when I see them both, then I can make that comment. I don't know.